happy, and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, Doctors Economos, Guevalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidisciplined practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology, such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930. That's 630-830-4930. Or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
Have you been struggling to find an easy, safe, and secure document scanning solution for Salesforce.com, Microsoft 365, SharePoint, or OnBase by Highland? Your struggle is now over, and it's time to get your documents and operations into the 21st century. With IoT Smart Connected Scanning, it's easy to turn physical paper into digital documents and have them directly uploaded to the cloud with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. And you don't need a degree in computing or IT to make it happen. Using QR code technology uniquely configured for your specific business, anyone can set the IoT Smart Connected Scanning device up in 5 minutes or less, saving your organization money and valuable time. Remote employees can even capture documents and send them safely and seamlessly. Organize documents efficiently and securely with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. To see a demo or to order now, go to ready4idt.com. That's ready4idt.com. Use promo code SMART and receive 10% off your order. IDT, putting paper in its place.
When you're serious about your concealed carry training and education and are ready to learn from an active police officer with a teaching degree, check out Illinois Concealed Carry Training in Midlothian. You'll learn safe, responsible firearm use, home defense planning, conflict avoidance, situational awareness, and how to remain physically, morally, and financially safe in the event you must use your firearm in self-defense or the defense of another. Weekday and weekend classes available.
I'm Sergeant Gary Carr, police firearms trainer and the owner of Illinois Concealed Carry Training. We'll arm you with what really counts: knowledge and training. All concealed carry curriculums are not created equal. This may be the single most important decision you'll ever make for yourself and your loved ones. Choose between 3 and 16-hour classes that are available both weekdays and weekends. We are your one-stop for concealed carry classes, fingerprints, and legal defense plans.
Register for a class today and get 10% off class fees with promo code AM560. Visit IllinoisConcealedCarry.com. That's IllinoisConcealedCarry.com.
When you're in the market to buy or sell a home, commercial property, or even vacant land, let attorney Susan J. Kim step in. She's reliable, responsive, personable, and extremely thorough when helping you deal with an otherwise stressful transaction. Attorney Kim leads with her values and is committed to providing legal services with excellence. To contact Attorney Kim, visit sjkimlaw.com. That's sjkimlaw.com. Whether it's drafting agreements, negotiating contract terms, or closing on a property, Attorney Susan J. Kim can do it all. Over 10 years of experience and her wealth of knowledge tackling complicated legal negotiations and breaking them down into a smooth, easy-to-understand process is what she does best. So let attorney Susan J. Kim step in. To schedule your legal consultation today, visit sjkimlaw.com. That's sjkimlaw.com or call 847-906-3166. Susan J. Kim, attorney at law, is a state of Illinois licensed real estate attorney.
This is Albert Mohler for townhall.com. We've just witnessed a huge story unfold in the United States, the biggest religion story perhaps in recent days, as the United Methodist Church has basically become, well, far less united. One historian calls this divide, quote, the biggest schism in any American denomination in the history of our country. For the most part, it took place between 2019 and 2023. The end of the calendar year just passed marked the end of the opportunity for Methodist congregations to leave the denomination with their property. Over the course of that time, given what was at one point America's largest Protestant denomination, what we know now is that a quarter of the congregations left, fully 25%, largely over LGBTQ issues. The bottom line is a church can't go, a denomination can't go in two directions at once on key issues. But right now, the United Methodist Church is no longer united, with a quarter of its congregations leaving over principle. I'm Albert Mohler.
Where can you go anytime, day or night, to hear full-length radio programs from favorites like John MacArthur, Greg Laurie, and Chuck Swindoll? The new OnePlace.com. Where can you get free devotionals, podcasts, and articles on issues like marriage and parenting, politics and current events, and Christian living for men and women? The new OnePlace.com. Your favorite Christian teachers, online and on mobile at OnePlace.com. OnePlace.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So House Speaker Mike Johnson took to the floor yesterday to offer an extended speech on border security. Important in this time because you need a House Republican response to the pressure coming from Beltway media, Senate Republicans who are intent on surrendering, not to mention the White House. You come to the table, bipartisan compromise, negotiate in good faith, all of these things. Well, Johnson sort of reframed where we're at and provided some more detail to one of the talking points you've heard from House Republicans for the better part of the last couple of weeks, which is on the topic of the 64 specific actions Biden took per his executive power to weaken border security, to reverse a number of the policies that were advanced, again, by executive authority under President Trump. And therefore, of course, the obvious point is, well, he still retains that executive power to reverse his reversals in the direction of border security. So just, again, framing where we're at as these numbers are bandied about and where we have been at under the big guy, Mr. 10%, President Biden.
Here's a short list. From Texas to New York, waves of illegal immigrants are now overwhelming our communities. Just since the time I was elected Speaker, less than 100 days ago, more than 700,000 illegals have been welcomed into our country illegally by the Biden administration. American school children have been forced into virtual schools. Why? So migrants can sleep in their school buildings. Korean War veterans of the U.S. have been booted from nursing homes that were sold to house migrants. Our streets are being flooded with fentanyl. Hundreds of thousands of children and adults are being poisoned and losing their lives. Vulnerable children and women are being exploited and trafficked by cartels, and that's happening even within our borders. The fallout goes on and on and on. And I am here this morning to beg of my colleagues to help us force the administration to take action. We have to stop this now and put Americans and Americans' border security first.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro. Answer line 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment.
One of the important points that is made and needs to be made repeatedly, where he was talking about, the high-profile incident in New York at that high school where students from the neighborhood are displaced for migrants, Korean War veterans, as he's describing, being displaced. So the point here is not just sort of generically we have this problem and we're going to talk 700,000 and 1.8 million gotaways and all these numbers being bandied about, but the number one, make it tangible, make it human costs, fentanyl overdoses and the sex trafficking and so forth. But also understand that your government is prioritizing people from foreign lands who've entered this country, facilitated by your government illegally. They're prioritizing those individuals over you, the tax-paying American citizen. It's just a simple, sort of fundamental fairness point, but it needs to be repeated so that it really, I think, resonates and sticks with people, is my sense of it. Now, that doesn't absolve House Republicans of doing more than just detailing what has transpired over the last 3 years, or as you heard from Speaker Johnson, just since he's taken the speakership. But the messaging and the making of the argument, that is part of the job of the congressional Republican leadership. And since you're not going to get it from the Senate, I mean, not from Senate leadership, you'll get it from individual Republican senators. It's important that the House fill that gap. It's also important that the House fly in formation with, the Republican presidential nominee de facto. That would be one former President Donald Trump, wouldn't it? So Johnson continued. Okay, so now pulling back. I mean, again, some of what he described there, just since he took the speakership.
Right. Well, one thing that he missed is what's going on in Denver. And it's so bad that even NBC Nightly News covered the story regardless. I mean, they did do it on a Friday, but it was last Friday. They interviewed the principal of a school, Dan, who he's overwhelmed. And he normally gets 5 to 10 new students a year. He's getting 5 to 10 new students a week. And guess what's happening? The American children who go to that school are being sent to other schools to make space for illegals. And that is the biggest bunch of bull jive. Everybody should know about that story.
Okay, well, that's another example, like the New York story, that provides some form to what is being described in terms of non-citizens in this country illegally, mainly facilitated by this administration. I mean, I see all this stop the invasion. This is an invasion. It's not an invasion. It's an importation.
Right. We're letting them in. They're not invading. If we're saying, come on in, here's a hole in the fence, here's where you go.
Right. So I mean, if it's an invasion, think about it this way. So who's leading the invasion? I mean, you could say that, I don't know, the argument about some of these countries sending some of their worst and the cartels and the international gangs, the MS-13 types and so forth. But I mean, who's really breaking through the southern border? Who's aiding all of these individuals in terms of breaking into the country? It's not a foreign power. It's the American government. So is the American government is invading America?
Well, all I know is Americans are suffering because of this, and children who have gone to the same school for 9 years are being shipped to other schools. That's not fair for the moms. It's not fair for the kids, and it's not fair for Americans as a whole. Because it happens there, it's going to happen where.
Yeah. Okay. So it's important to understand what's happening writ large. That's why I bristle at this invasion talk. You're misidentifying the responsible party.
A lot of people are like Governor DeSantis. He had a press conference yesterday with a big orange sign, "Stop the invasion."
That's why I'm addressing it. Speaker Johnson talking about the last 3 years, just to make sure everybody's updated.
Since President Biden and Alejandro Mayorkas assumed office, there have been more than 7 million encounters with illegal aliens just at our southern border alone. 35 of our 50 states, including my home state of Louisiana, don't have a population that large. Yet that's how many people have been apprehended in just the past 3 years. Among those who've been apprehended on the southern border, but between ports of entry, more than 300 individuals who are on our terror watch list. Terrorist watch list. The frightening question is, if so many terrorists were caught attempting to cross our borders, how many have entered undetected? We suspect it is a much higher number. And we know that there are at least 1.8 million gotaways that we know have escaped CBP. Who knows what dangerous plans those gotaways are making and what foreign adversaries they may be speaking with.
Or what crimes they may have committed. Yesterday, I mean, again, just to put not too fine a point on it, yesterday, legislation, again, we talked about legislation, and it's good what House Republicans are doing, essentially, is calling the bluff of the open borders crowd as well as the pro-Hamas crowd. So the other day it was not allowing anybody who collaborated with Hamas and the October 7th terrorist attack in this country. And you outed 2 Democrats, Rashida Tlaib and Cori Bush, as so pro-Hamas that they want to allow terrorists to emigrate to this country. They certainly don't want to prohibit it. Yesterday, it was DUIs, expelling migrants who've been convicted of driving under the influence. And you could just go down the whole list of Class X felonies, since we know we have so many people in this country illegally who have been convicted of serious crimes in the United States.
Well, and people should know. People should know that our Congresswoman in Elk Grove Village and other surrounding communities, Delia Ramirez, she voted present on that whether or not to deny immigration to Hamas terrorists.
Yeah, well, right. That's part of our illustrious congressional delegation. On this matter of migrant DUIs and expelling them, deporting them, Pramil Jayapal, she is the band manager of the Socialist Spice Girls. Here's what she said on the House floor yesterday.
Once again, the majority is wasting our time by putting forward a piece of legislation that has zero chance of becoming law and that is extraordinarily broad. No one condones driving under the influence. We should do everything we can to prevent people from getting behind the wheel while intoxicated. But this bill, designed to scapegoat and denigrate immigrants, will not solve the serious problem of DUIs.
The problem of DUIs is serious, but the problem of people in this country illegally exacerbating the problem of DUIs is serious too. And it's also a point they're making about how committed to open borders they are, how uninterested they are, this political class in D.C., in the safety of American citizens, the interests of American citizens, the existence of something called an American citizen. Candace in Mount Pleasant, Wisconsin.
Hi. Years ago, I started looking this up for some reason. The phrase was the most violent places on earth. And people would think it was like a Muslim country. Wrong. Like 6 to 8 nations were in South America. So this is like no surprise to me that communists are importing communists. This is the army that and the police force that Obama said he always wanted. And the second thing is, these people are used to extreme violence, and they're emptying out these jails in places that you wouldn't even ever go to. I mean, and they're coming up here, so what does that tell you? It tells me that the federal dollar is going to go kaput, and they want to get rid of as many people because we are a liability. You have to understand that they have financial obligations to us. And I'm sorry, but what's coming is very ugly and very scary.
Thanks for the call, Candace. David Lansing.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Dan, you said this is an importation, not an invasion.
Yeah.
I would disagree with you. The Biden administration and many prominent Democrats have been bought off by China. There are spies. We know that a couple politicians in California have been infiltrated by spies for a long time. These are agents of China. This is an invasion. These politicians, the Bidens, they've been paid off to let these people in. They are the enemy. The Bidens, these people are not on our side. And so this is an invasion. This is a military invasion by China. And
yeah. Well, you thanks for the call, Dave. Yeah, I get the point. But with all due respect, Eric Swalwell falling prey to a honeypot scheme doesn't constitute Chinese military invasion. I'm sorry. I understand these countries that are averse to our interests, and I understand how compromised the Biden hillbilly crime family is. But you have to connect the dots a little bit better to convince me that it is not purposeful on behalf of the American political class led by the movement Marxists to reshape America and by that I mean the demographics of America, ideological mainly, in order to ensconce themselves in power for as far as the eye can see. I think that's the bigger play, as we talked about the other day when it came to answering the question, why would you continue to do something that is costing you so much politically? Well, there has to be some political payoff, because that's how these politicians think. What is the political payoff? How does this enhance my power, keep me in power? And
to
it's
win 2024.
Well, it's on the voting side, and there's specifics. There's specific opportunities that are present, and I think this is where they're going to try to exploit those opportunities and try to normalize this too, just as we have Evanston moving to, the timing of this very interesting, moving to allow non-citizens to vote in local elections. There's something afoot here. It's being done internally. You can call it a fifth column action. You can say there are foreign saboteurs involved, but it is being led here by the people that we have put into office. All right, we'll continue this conversation and take more calls, 538.
And later, cop beating illegals gloating after they leave jail. But now let's head into that newsroom and catch up with everything. Here's Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike.
5:33 here in Chicago on AM 560. The Answer. Families of 3 American soldiers killed overseas will be joined by President Biden when their loved ones' remains are returned to the U.S. today. Several people are dead after a small plane crashes into a mobile home park in Clearwater, Florida. It's not currently known how many people are dead as firefighters continue to work the scene.
We're in the process of working through with FAA and NTSB to identify the aircraft as well as the pilot or any other members that may have been aboard that aircraft.
Clearwater Fire Chief Scott Ayler saying there were deaths in both the plane and in one of the mobile homes. North Korea firing off cruise missiles off its west coast, the 4th time in the past week. The U.S. is not at war with Iran. That's what Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin told reporters today.
We would call upon Iran to quit supplying the Houthis with these advanced conventional weapons that they've used to attack ships in the Red Sea.
Meanwhile, Austin saying the Houthis are conducting illegal actions in the Red Sea by targeting shipping. U.S. Central Command overnight said it struck some targets in Yemen. A 17-year-old from California in police custody after being extradited to Florida, facing charges that he conducted a swatting call targeting a mosque last year. Investigators believe the 17-year-old is also behind hundreds of swatting calls across the country, targeting schools, black colleges, the homes of FBI agents, and even his own home. Punxsutawney Phil makes his 138th annual appearance today in western Pennsylvania on this Groundhog Day. Pennsylvania tradition sees the famous hog predicting whether we'll have an early spring or 6 more weeks of snow and cold. A power outage to blame for an evacuation of employees at the BP refinery in Whiting, Indiana yesterday. That led to an additional and normal flaring of the stacks. Out of an abundance of caution, BP temporarily evacuated employees as well. BP maintains its own infrastructure to support the electrical needs of its facilities. It is not part of the local Indiana grid. Phone service, email, and internet are all still down at Lurie Children's Hospital for the 2nd day in a row due to what's now being termed a cybersecurity matter. Outages are causing problems beyond communication. Some surgeries were canceled. Children's prescriptions and patient portal data are also affected. Governor J.B. Pritzker is disappointed in the Chicago City Council passing a resolution calling for a ceasefire in the war between Israel and Hamas terrorists in Gaza.
I was disappointed that no consideration was given to the women who were raped by Hamas fighters who crossed over into Israel, kidnapped people, that the deaths that were caused by those terrorists were not acknowledged.
The governor says he believes the measure will have zero impact on local policy. An infestation of bed bugs has been discovered at a South Suburban high school. Bed bugs were discovered in some parts of Thornwood High School in South Holland. The principal there says the infestation will be treated by exterminators over the weekend. The Bulls take on Sacramento tomorrow night. Northwestern looks to get back in the win column when they visit Minnesota at Williams Arena. The Memphis Grizzlies have traded guard Steven Adams to Houston in exchange for Victor Oladipo and 3 second-round picks overnight. The 2024 NHL All-Star Weekend is taking over Toronto, and Thomas Detry is sitting on top of the leaderboard after round 1 of the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. 5:37. We'll have a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
November 2nd, 2020, marked the 100th anniversary of the first commercial radio broadcast. We're still here, and we're bigger and better than ever. You can still listen to us over this great radio station, but now there are no limitations. Your smartphone is now your smart radio. Listen to us online on the app, TuneIn.com, iHeartRadio, and Odyssey.com. Your smart speaker can find us too. With radio, there is no separation anxiety. We're always on. AM 560, The Answer.
You cannot live forever, but your legacy can. For over 185 years, families have trusted Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago to set their legacies in stone. With 47 locations throughout Cook and Lake counties, a prepaid cemetery plan locks in today's prices and safeguards against rising inflation. Visit CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org or call 708-236-5490 to schedule a free consultation today.
For armed or unarmed security, average isn't good enough. You deserve more. You need more.
Morrison means more.
Morrison Security. More deterrence and prevention with customized programs that fit your budget. Cost-effective, sensible solutions for all businesses and facilities.
Morrison means more.
More peace of mind, knowing your security guards are well-trained professionals with a track record of getting results and serving exactly your needs. Morrison Security personnel are constantly trained for readiness and are prepared for any given situation that can occur at a job site.
Morrison means more.
More reliability of management for quick and effective solutions at your property. Morrison Security is responsive. They're always available to you.
Morrison means more.
More awareness of any challenges you face with protecting people, property, and assets. For armed and unarmed security, don't settle for substandard or average. Security is too important. Contact them and find out how you can get more. MorrisonSecurity.com. MorrisonSecurity.com.
Morrison means more.
Are you ready for an adventure of a lifetime? Journey with me, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, on the Patriots Alaska cruise this summer. It's an incredible opportunity to engage with me and other like-minded patriots on an epic 7-day cruise over 4th of July weekend. Witness the untouched wilderness of Alaska while discussing America's future. What could be better? Join me from June 29th to July 6th. Call 855-565-5519 or reserve online. PatriotsAlaskaCruise.com.
Don't let a cold, sinus infection, or allergies ruin your day. Breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier with Navage. Visit Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, or a store near you.
540 on AM 560, The Answer. Let's get a check on the roads. In our Team Hochberg Traffic Center, a service of Fox Valley Coins, bring your gold or silver in store today. Each item is priced right in front of you. Coins never leave your sight. Receive cash or check right on the spot, foxvalleycoins.com. Stevenson inbound right now, slowing up between Cicero and Kedzie. Bishop Ford inbound jamming into the Ryan merge. Your backup is back at 103rd. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. A cooler day ahead. Clouds will break for a little bit of afternoon sun and a high of 40. Partly cloudy, 32. Sunny to partly cloudy tomorrow and a high of 43. 37 right now at O'Hare. Your next news update is at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by IDT. Eliminate paper files with the IoT Smart Connected Scanning Device. Find them at ready4IDT.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy talking about House Speaker Mike Johnson's speech on the House floor yesterday, outlining in some detail the situation at the border and the different perspectives House Republicans have as compared to some of their Senate colleagues, and certainly as compared to the White House, responding to some of the charges that have been leveled by the Biden White House against House Republicans in an effort to, try to put this back on House Republicans for being obstructionist rather than the Biden administration taking the blame for codifying lawlessness at the border. And he went through a couple specifics. He's got this list of 64 actions Biden has taken to weaken the border, taken by himself. So he didn't need us, and he still doesn't, although we're happy to provide a framework, H.R. 2, for him to use to, paint by numbers. Just a couple examples Mike Johnson gave during his remarks to put some specifics to this. Among the 64 executive actions Biden has taken to weaken border security, well, how about the wall?
The day he took office, the very first day that he walked into the Oval Office, President Biden revoked Executive Order 9844. You know what that did? It ended construction of the border wall that Congress had already paid for. Everybody's seen the images on TV, the materials out there rotting in the sun and the elements. Why? Because Joe Biden decided unilaterally he didn't want a wall.
The end of Title 42.
In February 2021, the administration stopped applying Title 42 expulsions to children and incentivized, by doing that, incentivized families to send unaccompanied children through Mexico under the watch of who? Cartels and traffickers. Since then, the administration has lost track. They admit to this number, they admit that they've lost track of more than 80,000 unaccompanied children somewhere in the U.S.
Right. It's a reminder of how inhumane the open borders policy is. It's not just with respect to American citizens. It's also with respect to, kids from around the world.
Remember that day in December when they had 12,000 people come in? There were 391 kids that were unaccompanied. And they showed videos, the Houston station, and one kid just looked scared out of her mind. And I can't even imagine what they went through and what they were, transferred, like what deals were made.
This is the compassionate. This is the compassionate position to open the borders and lose track of 85,000 kids who came here unaccompanied because of what you incentivized families to do, or the opportunities you provided cartels and traffickers to exploit. Combination of the two. Remain in Mexico, and it's important to just detail these as Mike Johnson did. It's important to. I've got the receipts right here. I can show you my receipts to prove what I'm saying.
I'll continue. In October 2021, the Biden administration revoked the migrant protection protocols that had been instituted under President Trump. That's the policy that we all know colloquially as Remain in Mexico, right? The Remain in Mexico policy kept asylum seekers in a safe haven third country while they were seeking asylum in the United States. You know why that works so magically well? Because it sent a message around the world that you shouldn't pay your life savings to a cartel to traffic you through Mexico and drop you over the U.S. border, because you're not going to be dropped over the U.S. border. Hey, save your time and treasure and trouble. Don't take that dangerous journey, because the word goes out on social media to countries all around the world, they're not going to let you in.
And if these executive actions didn't generate this lawlessness we have at the border and all the numbers we previously detailed, 1.8 million gotaways, 7 million illegal encounters in the last 3 years. If these policies didn't serve as the proximate cause, then what did? Just global migratory patterns, as John Kirby and others would have you believe. Migration is happening everywhere. That's all very interesting. Why, to this extent, at our southern border, and so distinct from just a couple of years ago, the topography of the world and the places that people are coming from has not changed that much. Yes, there are countries that are war-torn, like Ukraine, and that's a separate category. And countries like Afghanistan, where we had allies who served as interpreters with our forces, and we needed to make provisions, although we did a terrible job, for people who put their lives on the line to support the U.S. mission in Afghanistan, and they should have the promises that we made kept. But I mean they have no answer. They have no explanation, because the explanation for why things are the way they are is obvious, and it's being detailed, or was detailed yesterday for the better part of 30 minutes by Mike Johnson. Those are just a few substantive examples.
I really like him. I mean, he's growing on me. Isn't he growing on you?
Well, he's a smart guy. He's very measured. He is substantive. I mean, he lays out the case like a good lawyer will. And the only thing I would say, well, there's two things I'd say about Mike Johnson, what wasn't in the speech.
What?
One is the voting issue that we talked about earlier this week.
Oh,
If I've got the Cleta Mitchell memo, then somebody maybe, I don't know, I'll mail it to Mike Johnson or email it to him. But I mean, right. So you have to start talking about this. The House Republicans, in addition to legislation like, banning Hamas collaborators from entering this country, deporting migrants who've been convicted of DUI and other crimes and violent crimes. You have to be talking about the National Voter Registration Act. You have to be talking about what the landscape looks like in terms of opportunities for non-citizens to illegally vote in federal elections. Foreign students, overseas, individuals overseas under federal law, federal law that was originally conceived to make it easier for military families to vote while deployed overseas. But as was detailed in Cleta Mitchell's memo, this is the renowned election attorney who put this memo together that should be like a clarion call for Republican action. So overseas, 63% in 2020 of those overseas votes were civilian. And I mean, if she knows that there are these opportunities to exploit, and they're more easily exploited when you have 1.8 million gotaways, well, then the NGOs the left-wing NGOs who facilitate the illegal entry and who have voter registration programs know. And what do we know, as she asked in that memo, about Department of Homeland Security, right? The Biden administration has directed Department of Homeland Security to make contact with everyone in this country that's encountered, so 7 million illegal encounters. So, I mean, is there any concern about subterranean voter registration programs? I mean, these are just, I don't know, but I know what Cleta Mitchell laid out very soberly, and if you read the memo and listen to our distillation of it, then you see, I mean, it's
very concerned.
Well, the opportunities for illegal voting are manifest.
Right. Well, it makes me think that that's why they've been letting thousands of people in for the last 3 years. I mean, thousands a day for the last 3 years to rig this election, or not just guarantee a win.
Well, it makes me think that too, and so this is why I say, well, so why we need Speaker Johnson to start talking about what the National Voter Registration Act provides and doesn't provide, what reforms are needed to that, and that needs to be advanced. This needs to be part of the conversation. The other piece, of course, is that as much saber-rattling as he did and as much detail as he provided, and separation from Senate Republicans trying to negotiate a surrender, well, if it's as serious as you say, 300 known or suspected terrorists and so on and all of the other details that have been provided, then why aren't you shutting it down? Why aren't you closing the wallet and saying nothing shall pass, no spending will be approved until and unless?
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You can also reach us on our text line, which is up and running this morning, 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment.
Because here's what's going on in the country. In places like Massachusetts, which is, there's competition. leading the way to try to find long-term housing solutions for people in this country illegally, people in this country legally but illegally, if you know what I mean, because of the elimination of Remain in Mexico. Some have an asylum, filed an asylum application and have paperwork that indicates a court date, but they shouldn't be in this country. So legally, illegally is sort of my hybrid there. But anyway, the plan is, hey, you're staying in Massachusetts, and Governor Laura Healey there, and normally I wouldn't question Laura Healey because she's a lesbian, and we know they're magical people in politics. Laura Healey, on her commitment to find long-term housing for migrants that have made their way to Massachusetts.
Emotional, guys, okay? Because I'm committed to this. Little kids need to be able to breathe clean air. They need to be able to access swimming pools. They need to have lifeguards there who are going to teach them how to swim. And they need to have activities. I don't know what we're going to do for a couple, 3 months. I'll call universities. I'll call other places.
The governor went on to say she is also looking at other locations, but has not said exactly where.
She's only talking about people in this country illegally. She's talking about migrants. She's not talking about kids that are residents of Boston or Cambridge, Massachusetts. She's just talking about those new arrivals, as they are wont to say. She turned one recreational.
Okay, sorry. Go on.
She turned one recreational center in a predominantly black neighborhood into a facility to house illegal immigrants. That did not sit well with the neighborhood, but like you see in Chicago. Well, the hell with you. Who are you? You're just a American citizen who resides in Chicago and pays taxes. Who are you? We have other priorities.
Not a winning message that she had there, and shame on her. She knows she's hurting the Americans, the Bostonians, and she's not doing anything more about it and crying like a baby. You're the governor of the gosh darn state. You can say no. And what they're trying to do, Dan, is take the people, the illegals who are in Logan Airport, and move them there. And she's so naive to think it's just going to be a few months. Bull jive. Once she turns that over to them, they're not getting it back. We're never getting the Broadway Armory back. Ever.
Yeah.
There's 7 park districts we're not getting back. She's not going to get that back.
You're missing the point.
Illegal.
You may or may not get it back. At some point, you'll probably get it back. You're missing the point. It's not about your park district building, and it's not about this rec center in Boston. It's about permanent residency for people in this country illegally. That's what this is about. One form or the other. We'll commandeer government buildings for as long as we need. We'll put you at O'Hare Airport or airports around the country. Atlanta, we've seen videos. We'll put you at a rec center in Boston. And then ultimately, we'll try to figure out maybe a housing complex, maybe retrofitting an empty office building like's going on right now in the West Loop. But the play is not the building. The play is permanent location in the United States, regardless of anything. Documentation, criminal history, ability to and desire to work so you're not effectively a ward of the state. All that's out the window. They have no interest. It is about finding a way and pulling at people's heartstrings the way that she did to keep the people who are flowing in here forever. Brian in St. John, Indiana.
What's good, Captain? So I stopped listening to you guys back in April because I can't afford to be getting heated at 5:30 in the morning. But I called to comment about the Socialist Spice Girl band manager, and then I heard the governor of Massachusetts say something about the kids deserve swimming pools. Like, are you kidding me, man? Like
lifeguards too. Yeah.
My kids would like a swimming pool too. You know what I mean? But
you're just an American citizen.
Yeah, give it to the illegals. They need to swim too.
Comment about the band manager. She was talking about it's unnecessary to have these to try to pass a law that's not going to pass. You and I both know she knows fully that it's just going to put them on the record of not wanting to export an illegal immigrant for having a DUI. So I just found it incredible how she spun that because you and I know why they would do that, and she's just spinning it opposite. So,
right. Thanks for the call, Brian. Well, right. Yeah. Oh, you're leveling up legislation that has no chance of passing. I'm sorry. Is that the standard? Because if it's the standard, then what were you guys doing trying to federalize elections for the first 2 years of this administration when you knew that wasn't going to pass? And all the other things that you've attempted to do that you knew weren't going to pass, because you're driving a discussion to its ultimate end. And you may not get it this session, and you may not get it next session, but you're going to keep at it. And frankly, the left is better when it comes to that sort of stick-to-itiveness than is the right. So don't be disabused. Oh, you're wasting time. It's symbolic because it's not going to pass. The legislative act, a legislative bill, is a vehicle to drive debate and understanding, to persuade people to a position, to create political pressure on politicians that are susceptible to it. Yeah, so don't listen to Jayapal. I mean, if, there's too much competition to designate her as the most disingenuous member of the House, but she's certainly in the conversation. Kip in Stillman Valley.
Yeah, hey, this is something that's food for thought. When's United States citizen going to be considered an occupier like the Israelis are in Israel? How can you run a sanction against 4 Israelis that we don't really know what happened, but Biden put sanctions on these people? That's in the news.
Sanctions on who? Who are you talking
about? On 4 Israeli settlers attacking the Palestinians. It's been on the news just recently. So he's did an executive order, and Blinken talked about it, and that, because they're trying to crack down on Israelis attacking Palestinians. So, when are we we're getting not necessarily invaded? I understand where you're coming from. Citizens of the United States are going to be considered an occupier of their own country. Have a great day.
Thanks for the call. Yeah.
All right. Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
They're going to throw money at the violence problem in Chicago. What a surprise. 6:06.
Today, mostly cloudy, a high of 41 degrees, 7 a.m. WIND, Chicago.
They'll come home in flag-draped caskets. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. 3 American soldiers killed in a weekend attack.
President Biden will be at Dover Air Force Base when the service members killed in drone attacks by Iranian-backed militants in Jordan will be returned to the United States. Earlier this week, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution shared a video of President Biden holding an emotional phone call with the family of Kennedy Sanders.
It means a lot to me. My son spent a year in Iraq, and so I lost him.
The president telling Sanders' family she would be posthumously promoted to the rank of sergeant.
That's Fox's Ryan Schmelz. The U.S. plans to retaliate. Fox's Jennifer Griffin reports from the Pentagon.
U.S. defense officials say they have completed forensic work on the remnants of the drone that killed the Americans and assess it to have been manufactured in Iran.
We will have a multi-tiered response.
That's Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. For the second time this week, North Korea has test-launched missiles into the sea as it continues to be in a nuclear weapons standoff with the U.S. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un called on his military to step up war preparations. And as the war rages in Gaza, there's a new AP NORC poll showing about half of Americans believe Israel's gone too far. Only 31% approve of President Biden's handling of the conflict, with many young Democrats unhappy with his Israel support. A new Fox News poll gauges 2 key 2024 battleground states.
In Georgia, with a state election fraud case pending, former President Trump holds a 51 to 43% lead over President Biden. In Wisconsin, the poll shows a tie at 47% between the frontrunners heading to November.
That's Fox's Gernal Scott. The morning after a small plane crashed into a mobile home in Florida, they still don't know how many people died.
But we are told that there were multiple fatalities as a result of this crash. Still unclear just how many people were on board that small aircraft.
That's Kelly Cowan with Fox 13 TV in Clearwater. America's listening to Fox News.
New.
37 degrees in Chicago. At 6:02 on AM 560, The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. A power outage to blame for the evacuation of employees at the BP refinery in Whiting, Indiana. Officials say the outage was reported yesterday, causing more oil and gasoline vapors to be burned. That led to an additional and normal flaring of the stacks. BP does maintain its own infrastructure to support its own electrical needs. It's not part of the local grid. Phone service, email, and internet are all still down at Lurie Children's Hospital for the second day due to what's being called a cybersecurity matter. Meantime, University of Chicago Medical Center announced Thursday about 180 employees have been laid off. There are roughly 13,000 workers at that facility. Governor J.B. Pritzker introduced the SC2 initiative Thursday. It looks to try and stop gun violence in the city of Chicago, and it comes on the heels of 2 teens being shot and killed in the heart of the city as they were leaving school. Mayor Brandon Johnson.
In the spirit of collaboration, in December, I announced the People's Plan for Community Safety, my administration's commitment to a people-place-based approach to addressing the root causes of harm and violence.
Meantime, the governor is disappointed, he says, that the Chicago City Council passed a resolution calling for a ceasefire in the war between Israel and Hamas terrorists in Gaza.
I was disappointed that no consideration was given to the women who were raped by Hamas fighters who crossed over into Israel, kidnapped people, that the deaths that were caused by those terrorists were not acknowledged.
The governor says he believes the measure will have zero impact on U.S. foreign policy. Village of Dixmoor is under a state of emergency following a number of water main breaks. Village President Fitzgerald Roberts saying at least a dozen breaks have taken place in the south suburb, mostly near 141st Street. There is currently a boil order in effect for that village. Bulls host Sacramento tomorrow night. Fighting Illini this weekend hosts Nebraska in Big Ten hoops, while Northwestern will visit the Golden Gophers of Minnesota. Thomas Detry sits on top of the leaderboard after round 1 of the Crosby-Clambake. 6:04, we'll have a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
This radio station is always on, but sometimes you need more content that you can take with you anywhere. That's why we invented the SalemPodcastNetwork.com. You'll find all the great hosts on this radio station, plus a few more, like Charlie Kirk, Dinesh D'Souza, Trish Regan, Jenna Ellis, and Dennis and Julie. There's literally no end to what we can teach you. It's like radio on demand, and just like radio, it's always on. Go find out what you're missing. Download the app, SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
If you're tired of being overweight, trying yo-yo diets and exercise but never seeing results, pay special attention to the unique 60-day program at Solutions for Weight Loss with Dr. Miriam McParland. Dr. Miriam, why do people who have failed before lose weight on your 60-day program?
It's a doctor-supervised, holistic approach, no calorie counting, no grueling workouts. It won't interfere with any medications either.
And you can eat most foods and still lose weight?
Absolutely. We coach on how to eat nourishing food and assist in the weight loss process with natural lipotropic drops that help stimulate and reset the metabolism and control their appetite while increasing the fat-burning process.
How much weight will the average person lose?
Between 20 to 40 pounds in 30 to 60 days.
Wow. Start the program in person or virtually. Book your free consultation. Call 708-778-3050. The first 15 callers today get $300 off the 60-day program. Space is limited. Call now, 708-778-3050.
The IRS finally caught up with Louie.
I hadn't paid my taxes in 8 years. I owe the IRS a lot of money.
Louie was in deep trouble.
We're going to take your house, put a lien on your bank account, garnish your pay. They don't care. They're going to take your paycheck.
Louie found out about Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima Tax, they help me. They calm me down. They make me feel comfortable, and I trust them.
Louie has a lot to be thankful for.
I don't owe the IRS anymore, and I'm able to live a comfortable life, a lot better life. It was because of Optima Tax.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation. Take it from Louie.
If you owe the IRS, don't go it alone. give Optima Tax a call. They can help you.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
6:07. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. It is a service for you of Salem Surround, a local digital marketing agency. Go to surroundchicago.com today. Stevenson right now jamming up between Pulaski and Kedzie, 25 minutes into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan in, typical morning heavies, especially on the south end, and now between 35th and the Chinatown feeder. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. We get the latest now from Steve Williams.
Cloudy skies breaking up for some sun today, the high at 40. It'll be partly cloudy tonight, low 32. Sunny to partly cloudy tomorrow, the high 43. Sunny day on Sunday, the high at 46. And then mostly sunny Monday, the high 47. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Cloudy and 37 at O'Hare, 36 along Chicago's lakefront. Your next news update is at 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Well, you'll be impressed. Taking immediate action in the wake of the 2 shootings over the last week that have occurred outside of CPS high schools. Yesterday, BLM Brandon and Jelly Belly went over to the South Shore Cultural Center and got together with the hangers-on, government, city and state. Oh, and that, of course, includes business leaders and everybody else, because everything runs through the government in Illinois and Chicago. That's why the place is such a catastrophe, because it's so government-centric. So here's the big news. Are you ready for it? Big news on violence prevention. They're going to try to double the amount of money that is spent on violence prevention from $200 million to $400 million through a public-private partnership with the goal of reducing the number of shootings and homicides in Chicago by 50% within 5 years. That's another 5-year plan. Very Stalin-esque. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. Are you wowed?
I don't know where to begin. I'm so excited. How do we celebrate this, Dan? This is big news. This is just more money being thrown after another problem and another 5-year plan, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, they just come out and say it. These are 2 gang-involved shootings. The victims were gangbangers. The assailants were gangbangers in both incidents.
The aim is to scale up these violence prevention programs where they currently spend, I guess, on the order of $200 million. That's according to them. So let's just take their numbers at face value for the purpose of discussion, although I'm sure they're inaccurate. $200 million that serve the city's most violent neighborhoods. You know what the problem is there? We need to be spending $400 million.
Did anybody ask it, what do we get for our $400 million?
What did we get for the 200? And they know this how. What are the metrics? No. The aim to scale up those programs in those neighborhoods to reach at least half of the estimated 20,000 people in Chicago considered at greatest risk of being shot. Can somebody publish that list? I think if I was at the greatest risk of being shot, I'd like to know.
Yeah, please. Mom, Dad, Mom, who's on the list?
Why don't we circulate, get that list published and circulate it? Everybody can play along. I mean, is that gallows humor? Yes, it is. But how else do you respond to something so silly that is presented as seminal from the political leadership of a major city and state. I don't know how else to respond anymore. 200 million, 400 million. It's like the conversation about the Chicago public schools. How much more do we need to spend per pupil? More. How much more do we need to spend on violence prevention and violence interruption? More. To what end? No. More. To what end? What do you mean, to what end, Dan? We have this goal. We have a goal of reducing homicides by 50% in 5 years. I mean, are you against that? No, of course I'm not against that. Well, then you better pony up. Because we have these grand goals. Have you produced results with the $200 million you're spending that are demonstrable, even anecdotal? Even just compile all the anecdotes and let's see how much per positive anecdote we're paying. I mean, the money is not a big deal to me. If $400 million would reduce the murder rate by 50%, fine. Another $200 million bucks, no problem. Start with all those C-suite types in Chicago and pass the hat. Good. I'm on board. Why do we all know it's not going to happen that way? And so we pretend. But this is the beautiful lies aspect of the culture in Chicago and Illinois. We know it's not going to work, but this is a way we can.
Something.
This is a way we can all get together at the South Shore Cultural Center and congratulate ourselves for how much we care. I mean, we don't care if it works. We don't care about the outcomes. We just care about everybody taking notice of how much we care.
Well, what about using that money to hire resource officers and put them back in the schools? I mean, look at Juarez.
They don't want to do
Juarez
that.
High School. They had 4 kids shot, and then the parents who wanted to take it away were begging to have them back. Because it makes kids feel safer, because kids don't feel safe right now, Dan. They don't. Going to school, going from school.
What else
They may
is
feel
new?
safe inside the school, but they want the resource officers.
What else is new? There's been 100 kids shot and killed in Chicago, on Chicago streets in the last 5 years. What else is new?
Well, now they see it while they're walking out of school, because both of those shootings happened while they were walking out of school in broad daylight.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, let's go back to Ben Wilson. I
remember that.
Pick the high profile kid gunned down on the streets of your choice. They've been profiled at State of the Union speeches. Hadia Pendleton when Obama was president. And what? And what? We're going to do more. We're going to spend more violence interrupters, more gang prevention, more this, more that. And here we are, decade after decade, having the same conversation and pretending we're doing something novel. Fine, I'll go along with it. Oh, it's wonderful. Everybody at the South Shore Cultural Center yesterday, give them a big round of applause because they care so much. Well, bully for you. Wonderful. You're a good person. You're a city leader. You're a visionary. What do you want me to say? Whatever compliments we're supposed to offer, okay, sign me up. Sure, I'll go along. Like everybody else. Henry in St. Charles, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, we defunded law enforcement and we gave police rules that they can't do this and they can't do that. And, as their work. So why is there so much violence?
Thanks for the call, Henry. Well, you don't understand. You've got the wrong philosophy. That is not the prevailing philosophy. That's not the received wisdom from your betters in public office. Here's the received wisdom. Brian Schwab is the AG for D.C. The District of Columbia was an outlier last year where, violent crime went up. But even in D.C., murders were up year over year, where they were down slightly in almost all metropolitan areas off 30-year highs. But in D.C., they continued going up. In D.C., this week, of course, was the news that a former Trump administration official was carjacked. And the last I heard, he was in critical condition in a parking lot in D.C., coming from his job. And this, of course, is endemic like it is in Chicago. So to Henry's antiquated understanding of how you deal with violent crime, here's the D.C. Attorney General, Brian Schwab, talking about it.
We as a city and a community need to be much more focused on prevention and surrounding young people and their families with resources. If we want to be safer in the long run, we cannot prosecute and arrest our way out of it.
Yep. Don't worry about arresting and prosecuting. No, can't do that. You got to spend money. Social service providers, wraparound services at the schools. Can't arrest and prosecute your way out of it, but you can spend your way out of it. That's what we know, or that's what we're told. It's everywhere. Same philosophy. How about this? You ready for more?
Yeah.
Baltimore, New York City, Philadelphia, Seattle, Austin. Some members of their various city councils had a little confab yesterday, a little call to talk about carjackings. They're on the same page as Brian Schwab in D.C. They're on the same page as BLM Brandon and Jelly Belly in Illinois. Take a listen to these guys. I mean, it's, you're going to hear from councilmen from Seattle and Baltimore. The names don't matter because they're interchangeable parts. It's like playing Mr. Potato Head with city council members and mayors and governors. You could rearrange the faces and it's still the same potato head.
It traumatizes our communities.
It happens every day. Kias and Hyundais stolen and used to fuel crime.
The failure of Kia and Hyundai to install industry standard theft prevention technology in their vehicles has left our cities to clean up the mess.
We heard today from folks in Baltimore, in New York, in Austin.
Today, Seattle City Council member Tammy Morales taking aim at car makers, demanding they recall and repair models that are easy to steal.
The resolution and the lawsuit are really about corporate responsibility.
The most familiar part of Kia theft is this: stolen cars used as battering rams to bust into businesses. No doubt you've seen it plenty of times, but somehow this was news to Councilmember Morales.
Well, that's a good question. I haven't heard that these stolen cars are being used for smash and grab.
Morales acknowledged Kia thieves often get away unafraid to run from police.
It is young people who can very easily access these cars and who are stealing them.
Do you think there should be stiffer penalties when people do steal these cars?
Well, I think there are penalties for car theft, and those should be, folks who steal them should be held accountable.
In any event, Morales wants the companies to pay the city for the costs of dealing with the stolen Kias and Hyundais. As for the incentive for youth to steal the cars, in court, do you think the lack of deterrent from getting caught or not being chased, do you think that plays into the decision by some of these young folks to steal these cars?
Well, I won't speak to the motivations of young people, except to say that they are young people. And when issued a challenge, especially on something like social media, they like to take it up.
Issued a challenge on something like social media, like take it up, like this is fun. Like we're challenging you to run a 5-minute mile.
Or eat a Tide Pod. Oh, my God. This is so great. Look at me.
So, again, the carjackings, as you've heard here, it's the car manufacturer's responsibility. And that's the main problem here. It's not the carjackers. And, of course, if Kia and Hyundai made their cars unbreakable.
Unhijackable.
Yeah, something like that.
Not
I guess.
Word, I just made it up.
If there is such a way to do that, then they would then carjackings would just end. Because it's only the existence of Kia and Hyundai that we have carjackings. That's the only reason. They wouldn't carjack another car. They're not going to carjack a Camry. All these people being carjacked and murdered or injured, guns pointed to their head. The make and model really matter. But that's leaders from across metropolitan areas. How about Gavin Newsom, Governor Patrick Bateman in California? This is a fun little story. He tells this story of interacting with an employee, a cashier at Target, and the cashier didn't know that she was talking to the governor.
Oh, how dare she?
Some guy walks out and drops something. My 14-year-old says, "Sir,
you drop this. And he comes back, he picks it up, and keeps walking out. As we're checking out, the woman says, oh, he's just walking out. He didn't pay for that. I said, well, why aren't you stopping him? She goes, oh, the governor. Swear to God, true story. Oh, my mom's great. The governor lowered the threshold. There's no accountability. I said, that's just not true. And I said, we have the 10th toughest, $950, the 10th toughest in America. She didn't even know what I was talking about. And I said, it's just not true. There's still stopped. They said, well, we don't stop them because of the governor. And then she looks at me twice, and then she freaks out. She calls everyone over, wants to take photos. I'm like, no, I'm not taking a photo. We're having a conversation. Where's your manager? Hopefully all the reporters weren't on for that.
Where's your manager?
The greatest words ever. Better than "don't you know who I am" is "where's your manager?" I mean, I'm surprised, Jan, that he didn't get out his cell phone and start videotaping this. I mean, the arrogance of him, and he's so detached from the own policies that he put in place. He's a disgrace. I mean, a leader divorced from the consequences of his policies.
And the other part of this, too, which is why these urban centers are so depressing, is that when she recognizes the clerk, if you're to believe Patrick Bateman's telling of the story, which is hard to believe anything he says, she recognizes he's the governor, and she immediately wants a selfie, and she calls people around and say, oh, look, the governor's here. I mean, the governor that you were just decrying because he lets people rob you blind, and you're not to do anything, and Target is probably telling you the same thing that the governor is telling you because of the governor's policies and the political class in California, and now you want a selfie from him because you're so addled by celebrity. So, I mean, so you have people who have sort of an understanding of what's happening, but then they're, I don't know, they're literally dumbstruck by celebrity, and so you continue to get the same sorts of professional prevaricators as Patrick Bateman.
Well, and what he could do is reverse Proposition 47, which emboldens those criminals so they can steal up to but not over $950.
What he could do.
But that's too deep for him.
But I mean
the ego on that guy, I mean, honestly, I've always felt like I want to reach into the TV screen and bop him. But that yesterday, that's just... And you're right. I don't even know if he's making up that story. Who knows if it's even true.
So
like Corn Pop was there at the Target with him.
D.C., Chicago, New York, Austin, Baltimore, Seattle. Starting to register? Not for that Target cashier, it isn't. Jay in New Lenox, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer. Oh, hold on a second. Sorry, I messed that up.
Taking my call.
Yeah, go ahead, Jay.
Yep. I think it's funny. Chicagoland people need to wake up. This is extorting more money from you. $400 million for at $200 million. Yeah. We shot 7 kids. So in 5 years, we're down to 3.5 now.
Yep.
I mean, it's just ridiculous. We're just gonna throw money at a problem instead of actually coming up with a plan, which we know are the gangs. The gangs are the problem. The gangs are the ones that are carjacking. The gangs are the ones that are shooting. The gangs are the ones that are robbing. And we have social media now. There's so many ways to track these people down, and we're just not doing it. And if
Thanks for the call, Jay.
And the sad thing is they walked out of there thinking that they accomplished something. Ugh, so slimy.
I still, the 20,000 people that are likely to get shot. I mean, again, can you, let's publish that.
Yeah.
Maybe we hire 20,000 bodyguards to go around with them. Corey Bush can help us with the security details. George in Naperville.
Yeah, Dan, I think these steps they are taking are going to give us a lot more honor students who make it to Harvard or Yale.
Thanks for the call. Or who are remembered as an honor student who was turning his life around, more likely. Glenn in Oak Brook.
Yeah, good morning. It's the responsibility of the property owners to reinforce their buildings so the stolen cars can't ram through there.
Absolutely. Exactly. Yeah. Thanks for the call. Right. Responsibility of car manufacturers, responsibility of general contractors and retail operators. Yes, you have to, turn your property into Fort Knox. And if you don't, that's on you. I mean, that's essentially what Lori Lightfoot said. What are you doing? Why aren't you hiring security people? Why aren't you taking advantage of the subsidy you get to put in camera systems from the city? The subsidy you get from the city to put in camera systems at the time. Yeah, I mean, it's always on the law-abiding, the person who play by the rules. The excuses are made for people that are predators, that don't play by the rules, that do not want to live peacefully in a pluralistic society. And the people who do are the problem. This is the message you get from your movement Marxists in charge of all those cities I just ticked off. John in Florence, Wisconsin.
You guys are getting this all wrong. Mayor BJ has a plan. Now, if you're going to pay $200 towards Mayor BJ or $400 million to Mayor BJ, it's just a matter of negotiation. And Chicago, it's still, being from Chicago, you have to realize there's a difference between giving to Mayor BJ or getting from Mayor BJ. You know, $400 million, that's all I got to say. This happy Ground Rat Day today, folks.
Thanks for the call, John.
Oh, that's right.
Puxatawny Phil, is that today?
Yeah, that's today.
Oh.
Well, we're deep in it. Neither you and I belong to that.
Sean and Darian.
Yeah, good morning, guys. Yeah, I mean, they talk about these kids like they're straight A honor roll students. They're nothing but punks. They're gangbangers. They're not raised properly. There's no parents in the home. It goes back to that, and it goes back to the respect for law enforcement. Go back to the old police ways. Put the fear of God in them. Put them behind bars, and it's over. It's all cleaned up. Thanks.
Thanks for the call, Sean. Not going to happen. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, Joe Gigante, host of the nationally syndicated Regular Joe Show based right here in Wisconsin. You deserve a state representative who represents you. Your current representative, Robin Vos, is working against you and against President Trump. Listen to what he had to say in his own words.
Will you work to elect Trump in 2024 if he's the Republican nominee?
Well, I'm going to start by doing everything in my power to make sure he's not.
He's following through with that promise by protecting Megan Wolf, the one who allowed drop boxes, Zuckerbucks, and many other illegal influences in our elections. There are two ways you can help shut down this corruption. The first is by joining us this Sunday, February 4th at 1:30 in the afternoon at Fountain Banquet Hall at 8505 Durand Avenue in Sturtevant, Wisconsin. I'll be there along with MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell. Plus, you'll find a petition to recall Voss in your mailboxes this week. Please fill it out and mail it back in or bring it out to the event this Sunday, February 4th at Fountain Banquet Hall at 8505 Durand Avenue, Sturtevant, Wisconsin. You can learn more at recallvoss.com.
Paid for by Recall Voss.
Patients everywhere are experiencing joint pain relief thanks to QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. So how does this non-surgical approach work? QC Kinetics Medical Director Dr. Aaron Wolkoff explains.
Is like when you get a paper cut and the cells that come onto that scene first stop the bleeding and then it recruits more cells to form new skin and new soft tissue. And then you look down a week later, 2 weeks later, and it's like nothing happened and that paper cut never existed.
In this same way, QC Kinetics uses your natural biologics to help repair and restore aching knees, hips, shoulders, and backs.
We take those same similar cells in different areas that are arthritic, are painful, and we cause this kind of internal self-healing that can resolve patients' pain.
Relief without surgery. See if you're a candidate for QC Kinetics regenerative treatments.
Call QC Kinetics 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
AM 560. The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
There is a recall effort underway to de-office a House Speaker. No, lamentably, it's not Chris Welch in Illinois. It's Republican Wisconsin Assembly Speaker Robin Vos. Why is Robin Vos the subject of a recall effort? We're going to find out from one of the organizers at 6:36.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike.
37 degrees here in Chicago at 6:31. Senior Hamas official says the group that A group will respond soon to a proposal that includes an extended pause of fighting in Gaza and a phased exchange of Hamas-held hostages. Hamas and other terrorists in Gaza are holding dozens after having abducted about 250 in their deadly October 7 attack. The State Department is sanctioning Israeli nationals believed to be involved in violence against civilians in the West Bank.
The president signed a new executive order that will implement new measures to address actions that undermine peace, security, and stability in the West Bank.
National Security Council spokesman John Kirby says the executive order allows for financial sanctions and visa bans against 4 individuals. At least 3 have been killed in Kenya's capital, 270 others injured when a truck loaded with gas exploded, setting off an inferno that burned homes and warehouses, and that death toll is likely to rise. Several people are dead after a small plane crashed into a mobile home park in Clearwater, Florida.
We're in the process of working through with FAA and NTSB to identify the aircraft as well as the pilot or any other members that may have been aboard that aircraft.
Clearwater Fire Chief Scott Ayler says there were deaths in both the plane and in one of the mobile homes. Tesla recalling nearly all of its vehicles it has sold in the U.S. because some warning lights on the instrument panel are too small. U.S. safety regulators say the recall will be done online with a software update. The anti-lock brake warning lights, the brake and park warning lights have a smaller font size than required by federal safety standards. Punxsutawney Phil made his 138th annual appearance today in western Pennsylvania, this Groundhog Day. He did not see his shadow, and if Phil is any prognosticator, that means we'll have an early spring. Power outage to blame for the evacuation of employees at the BP refinery in Whiting, Indiana. BP does maintain its own infrastructure to support the electrical needs of that facility. It is not part of the local grid. Phone service, email, and internet all still down at Lurie Children's Hospital for a second day due to what's being called a cybersecurity matter. Some surgeries canceled. Children's prescriptions and patient portal data are also effective. Governor J.B. Pritzker introduced the SC2 initiative yesterday, looking to try and stop gun violence in the city of Chicago.
Then I established the first ever state office of firearm violence prevention. Now communities have a dedicated state resource for technical assistance, for training, policy recommendations, while we provide investments to fuel the work.
Meantime, the governor says he's disappointed that the Chicago City Council passed a resolution calling for a ceasefire in the war between Israel and Hamas terrorists in Gaza. The governor says he believes the measure will have zero impact on U.S. foreign policy. Bulls take on the Kings tomorrow night. Over the weekend, the Fighting Illini take on Nebraska in college hoops. Northwestern goes up against the Minnesota Golden Gophers. And at 6:35, we'll have a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The Sean Thompson Show.
The Joe Biden administration is truly the administration for the rats, the thieves, the cartel members, the gangbangers. They're having the time of their life, and they're making more money than ever before. When a politician, a salesman, or a gypsy of any kind tells you, I'll be honest with you, that's when you know they're lying. When one of these Ukrainian overlords in a $6,000 suit tells you we don't steal the money, it's pretty much a confession of him stealing the money.
The Sean Thompson Show, weekday afternoons at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
You know, everyone goes to bed, but not everyone goes to sleep. Like many, I have a fairly demanding schedule, right? It's important I get a great night's sleep. I want to be sharp and at my very best. Sleep is something that I used to struggle with. I had tried a number of products to help, but I began searching for a natural solution. Well, I found it from some old friends, Relief Factor. I was at the Relief Factor headquarters, and I learned all about Sleep by Relief Factor. It has been a godsend for me. With Sleep by Relief Factor, I'm finally getting the best night's sleep of my life. I wake up refreshed. I'm never groggy. I feel the difference every single day. I urge you to check out Sleep by Relief Factor. Get your first bottle of Sleep for only $19.95. You'll sleep better, feel better, and get more rest. Call 800-4-RELIEF to order now, or you can go to relieffactor.com/sleep. Call 800-4RELIEF. That's 800, the number 4RELIEF, or go to relieffactor.com/sleep. If it can help me, there's a good chance it'll help you. Invest in yourself, invest in peace of mind. Relief Factor Sleep.
Baby, it's cold outside, and we've got the perfect cure for those winter blues. Grab your loved ones and settle in this evening with a relaxing jigsaw puzzle from Heart Puzzles, made right here in the Midwest. Their vast assortment includes a variety of themes. Go retro and cool with the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Revisit past trips with the National Parks Collection. Gaze at the wonders of space with the Hubble and Webb Deep Space Telescopes puzzles. Feel nostalgic with the immensely popular Boomers favorites. What's more is that a piece of every puzzle sale automatically goes to charity, so you'll be supporting their mission of giving back to veterans, funding medical research, and preserving our national parks. Order now and get 20% off by using promo code AM560. Order 2 puzzles and get free shipping and a tote bag. Order 3 puzzles and they'll even include a puzzle mat. Again, use promo code AM560. Their popular designs often sell out, so visit them today at heartpuzzles.com. That's HART puzzles.com.
Download the free Upside app to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code GIFT for an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first fill-up. That's promo code GIFT.
6:38. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Metra North Central service inbound to Union Station stopped near Prospect Heights due to a vehicle on the tracks there. There's delays that are building. Southwest side, an accident. Cicero near the Stevenson. Waukegan, an accident. US 41 southbound right before Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. Stevenson, an accident. 2 left lanes blocked. It's inbound after Pulaski, a rollover pickup truck involved, and travel times are climbing rapidly. Now an hour 10 from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Cooler with clouds breaking for some sun today, high near 40. Partly cloudy 32, sunny to partly cloudy tomorrow, a high of 43. In our QC Kinetics Weather Center, 37 at O'Hare, 39 at Midway, 35 in Aurora, and 35 along the lakefront. Your next news update is at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
Then put your little hand in mine. There ain't no hill or mountain we can't
Top of the morning,
climb.
Dan and Amy. So there's a movement afoot to recall Wisconsin State Assembly Speaker Robin Vos. Yeah, I met him a couple of times. This goes back a few years, though. But I remember he was a pretty strong proponent of school choice during the Scott Walker years. And obviously Governor Walker was leading the expansion of school choice. So it seemed like they had a pretty good team back there during the Walker years. But apparently there is some dissension in the ranks. I know generally about this, but I don't pretend to have the intricate knowledge of the Wisconsin political landscape that others do. So there's this group that's trying to recall him because I guess he was not supportive of efforts to impeach Wisconsin Election Commission Administrator Megan Wolf, who they claim oversaw election fraud in 2020 in Wisconsin. And also he said to the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel somewhat recently that he was going to do everything to prevent Trump from being the Republican Party's presidential nominee in 2024. Anyway, so there is this event this Sunday, 1:30 to 4:30 in Sturtevant, Wisconsin at the Fountain Banquet Hall. And we'll get more details on this recall movement that is afoot with Mr. Conrad Reynolds, who joins us now to discuss it. Conrad Reynolds, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Hey, well, thank you so much for having me on, Dan. I am very, very appreciative for the opportunity to speak to your listeners. We need everybody to understand that, first of all, happy Groundhog Day. And,
I know. I just remembered.
That's right. And it seems to me that, we have a Groundhog Day every day with a lot of the rhinos that we have. across the nation, we continually, over and over and over, see the same thing. We have borders that can't be protected. We have budgets that get blown out. We're at almost $34 trillion in debt. We have a problem here across the nation. We have people that we need to get rid of in certain positions, and one of those is Mr. Vos. It's time for him to go, and I'll tell you why. You mentioned it right there in your show. He is protecting Megan Wolf, and we all know that Megan Wolf is the one that allowed the Zuckerbucks to come in, all the drop boxes. She did all of these things. In fact, her term is over. It's been over since last summer, but they allow her to stay in the position, and the blocker is Robin Vos. He has the opportunity to pass Bill 18, which would allow the Senate to move forward with impeachment proceedings against her. And that would happen, but he's blocking that. Why? I don't understand why he is so opposed to the people getting their way in Wisconsin. And apparently he is. And so the other thing that people need to understand is he's got an 84% disapproval rating across the state. An 84%. I think it's time for Robin Vos to go, and I think it's time for him to move on. And we know that this next election in 2024 is very important, very, very important for our country. And we need to make sure that every election it has integrity and every vote counts. I don't care if you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent. We want your vote to count, but we want it to be a legal vote, and everybody should be on board with that. And if you're not, then...
But didn't Vos after the 2020 election, if I'm recalling correctly, retain a former Supreme Court justice to investigate the claims of election fraud? So I mean, he did do something to pursue those claims. Did he not?
Yeah, I see a lot of those little efforts, but he eventually fired him. But as you well know, and the other thing is that all the stuff that was brought up. I don't know if you had an opportunity to see the videos of the ballot harvesting in the rest homes in those areas.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
On 2,000 Mules. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was despicable. Well, again, as far as I'm concerned, and the people that are trying to get rid of Mr. Vos, they basically are on the right side as far as I'm concerned of election integrity. And election integrity means, again, we want all votes to count. We don't want systems put in place that make it to where people's vote doesn't count. And we think that that's what's happening right now. Well, there's no question that's happening. And Mr. Vos needs to go. And, again, the people of Wisconsin are going to have an opportunity to vote, and that's why we want the recall effort. And that's why we're pushing for it. We're gonna have the signatures, and they're going to get an opportunity to say yes or no to Robin Vos. And I think that's going to be important. And Mike Lindell is coming on Sunday. Thank you for mentioning that, because he's a great guy. Mike Lindell is a great guy, and he's coming on Sunday. We want everybody to come. That hall holds 500-600 people. We're trying to get as many people there to listen to what's going on and sign the petition. And we think that it's going to be a huge success. And again, we know that it's time for Mr. Vos to go. And
right.
We have a website. We ask people to go to it. And so it's Recall Vos with one S, by the way, recallvos.com. Recallvos.com.
So this Recall Robin Vos Day, how did you get Mike Lindell involved, or did he get you involved?
Mike Lindell's a friend of mine. I've known Mike Lindell for a long time. And he has been at the forefront of trying to get election integrity across America. And he's a good man who really wants to do the right thing. And he understands what's at stake here for our country. If anybody doesn't know what's at stake, just look at the southern border. I don't know if you know what my background is. I'm a retired Army colonel. I was at 30 years as an Army intelligence officer, strategic intelligence all across the world. I spent over 5 years in Afghanistan. And I understand what the implications are without a secure border. We've got people coming across, and we need to fix that, and no one is. So national security across the board, across America, is important. And Mike Lindell understands that. And that's why I'm here.
And he makes a heck of a pillow, too, I understand. Yeah.
I love the My Pillow. So.
Well, he also makes slippers, and he also makes towels and
dog beds, and I know everything.
I'm wearing the slippers right now. You don't have to tell me, Colonel.
Exactly.
I got you.
Yeah.
Well, he can make And they're really good. I mean, I'm not just saying he really is, but just a good man. I mean, they try to destroy him, but it's not about Mike Lindell other than he's coming and people have an opportunity to meet him. It really is about, election integrity, election security here. There's a lot of people. I've met so many good people here who want to get rid of Mr. Voss. And you know what? He's been there for a long, long time. And one thing I've learned that nobody's indispensable. I think Charles de Gaulle said, the cemetery is full of indispensable people.
Right.
I mean, the fact is, no one's indispensable. And you stay in places too long, you get too much power, you stay there, and it becomes a problem. Even in the military, some of our best commanders, I mean, they're only there for 3 years and then move on. There are good, talented people that can step in, and that's what we really need in America. We need to get rid of a lot of these rhinos, and we need to get people in that will actually do the right thing.
Let me ask you about this a little bit more about this recall, because I just want to understand the point of it, because I understand that election commissioner she can't. There's a court order that prevents her from being removed. I understand that, and I also understand that even if you replace Voss, sort of like replacing McCarthy, the Wisconsin House the Assembly doesn't have the votes to override Tony Evers' vetoes. So and that's just a foundation to say this isn't necessarily about policy change. This isn't necessarily about actually getting rid of this election commissioner if there's a court order that prevents it. This is about punishing Robin Voss because he hasn't lived up to his responsibilities as speaker in your mind. Is that right?
Partly right. This is about getting rid of Megan Wolf. This is about getting rid of Megan Wolf, and Robin Voss has fought the Patriots, and people are trying to get rid of her out of that position because they believe that she has facilitated policies and procedures that are not only unlawful, but that these are policies that undermine the vote of the Wisconsin voter.
But Robin Voss can't get rid of her. But
He's been a blocker.
So what you're saying, he should be with you guys leading the charge to get rid of her and challenge this court order.
Yeah, he needs to get off his rear end, and he needs to pass this Assembly Resolution number 18, which basically all he had to do is bring it to the floor and let them vote on it. He blocked that. He's blocked that continually. He will not allow just a resolution to come to the floor to vote to let the Senate move forward with impeachment, and he's blocked it. Why? Why is he doing that? That's all he's got to do.
And why do you think he is?
He doesn't do that. Well, I don't really know, but I know this: he's got the power to block it, and he's done it. And we've got people in power who are not letting the people of their state, of their county, have their say. Then that's a problem, because you know what? The people are. The government works for the people, and they're not doing that in this point. They are blocking, and so that's why he's got to go. We have got, they've got great patriots across this country. Here locally, you've got people like Dick and Liz Uline, who are very big patriots trying to do the right thing. These people are fighting for us, okay? And you got people like Robin Voss, who's not allowing, the people to have their say. And I think that everybody in America needs to understand, not just here, every other state, when you've got people like Mr. Voss, who uses his power to block their right to have a hearing, to have a say, then that's when it's time that they've got too much power and it's time for them to go. And,
so there's I hear you. So there's a battleground poll out. Actually, Mike Scott just reported on it that Wisconsin for Biden-Trump is 47-47, so it's a dead heat. We know Wisconsin is one of those top four swing states, along with Carolina, Arizona, and
Michigan,
Georgia. Carolina, Arizona, and Georgia, as I was saying, and Wisconsin. So what will you guys be doing on the ground to try to deliver Wisconsin for the Republicans this go around? You think it's possible?
Well, it is absolutely critical for the 2024 race for the Republicans and for President Trump. But that's not what this is about right now. I'm just telling you. It's important, but that's not what it's about. What's about is what I just said. It's about Mr. Voss not listening to the people of his state who want her gone, who want Megan Wolf gone. And he's not willing to listen to them or do that. And yes, we believe that if she's gone, we think that it'd be a fair election. And all we want is a fair shot. We want a level playing field so that President Trump, when he runs, or anybody else who runs, will have an opportunity to win. I said earlier, and I say it again to all the listeners here, this is not a partisan thing. This is not Republican or Democrat. This is about America. This is about people having their voice heard. And when you get people in office who are unwilling to listen, to use their position to block, like he's blocking this bill, number 18, that would just simply allow the Senate to move forward. That's all we're asking, and he is not allowing that. So everybody ought to be concerned when someone has that kind of power. It's not right. And I've been to over 70 different countries, and I will tell you, when people get that kind of power, it is very dangerous for democracy and for our republic. And that is why I'm trying here to fight and try to get people to understand this is the time to stand up. This is the time to come and make your voice known. Please come on Sunday to this event, because I think it's going to be exciting, and I think everybody will understand. It's the Fountain Banquet Hall in Sturtevant. Come to it and listen to what Mike Lindell has to say. I will be there along with many other patriots, and we're going to make this happen, and we need everybody to be involved.
He is Conrad Reynolds. The event he was describing this Sunday, 1:30 to 4 p.m. at the Fountain Banquet Hall in Sturtevant, Wisconsin. Conrad and MyPillow's Mike Lindell will be there as well, as he mentioned. Conrad Reynolds, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Dan, thank you. Amy, thank you. Happy Groundhog Day, and God bless America.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, Joe Gigante, host of the nationally syndicated Regular Joe Show, based right here in Wisconsin. You deserve a state representative who represents you. Your current representative, Robin Vos, is working against you and against President Trump. Listen to what he had to say in his own words.
Will you work to elect Trump in 2024 if he's the Republican nominee?
Well, I'm going to start by doing everything in my power to make sure he's not.
He's following through with that promise by protecting Megan Wolf, the one who allowed drop boxes, Zuckerbucks, and many other illegal influences in our elections. There are two ways you can help shut down this corruption. The first is by joining us this Sunday, February 4th at 1:30 in the afternoon at Fountain Banquet Hall at 8505 Durand Avenue in Sturtevant, Wisconsin. I'll be there along with MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell. Plus, you'll find a petition to recall Voss in your mailboxes this week. Please fill it out and mail it back in, or bring it out to the event this Sunday, February 4th at Fountain Banquet Hall at 8505 Durand Avenue, Sturtevant, Wisconsin. You can learn more at recallvoss.com.
Paid for by Recall Voss.
Imagine what your future looks like. Is the picture a little blurry? Hey, it's Sean Thompson here for Alpha Wealth Group. When we look ahead, we're visualizing where we want to be, and for retirement, that can be hard without a written financial plan. Tom Fortino of Alpha Wealth Group can help you bring your retirement picture into focus. For decades, Tom has been crafting customized financial strategies. His goal is to help you protect your savings, grow your wealth, and create an income strategy you cannot outlive. If you're nearing or already in retirement, it's time to get your plan on paper. So bring your readers and let's take a look at it closely. Call Tom at 630-934-1855 and schedule a complimentary retirement consultation. There is no cost. There is no obligation. This is a chance to get a clearer view of your retirement. The number again is 630-934-1855 or visit alphawealthgroup.com. And listen to the Alpha Wealth Hour Saturday mornings right here on AM 560 The Answer.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
Hey, to social engineering and leftist corporations, do they make you feel like we're kind of living in the twilight zone? Well, you're not alone. Now, our friends at Pure Talk, my wireless company, they know the silent majority is fed up, and I'm calling on all of those Americans, stand with a company that champions your values. The average family is saving almost $1,000 a year. Dial pound 250, say the keyword SAVE NOW. Do it now. You'll save an additional 50% off your first month from our friends at Pure Talk.
A massive data leak, being called the mother of all breaches, has been announced. Billions upon billions of records with sensitive data from previous breaches, newly stolen data, and privately sold databases have been exposed. Cybercriminals can use this information to commit identity theft. Help protect yourself and join the millions who trust LifeLock. LifeLock detects identity threats and alerts you if your information is being used. If you become a victim, LifeLock will work to fix it. Save up to 25% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com.
Is your local delivery provider unreliable? Do your same-day deliveries never get there the same day? Or has your delivery service left you out in the cold this winter? Then you need to know about the Delivery Authority. We are exceptional people that deliver flawless service. We are a logistics company based in Naperville that specializes in same-day, next-day, and final-mile deliveries. At the Delivery Authority, our account managers own the entire delivery process, from the pickup to final delivery, with real-time tracking that helps assure that your freight gets there safely, in good condition, and on time. And although we are a local company, our delivery footprint extends throughout the Midwest. So if you need a trusted local partner who can provide customized delivery solutions, on-time delivery performance, and hands-on customer service, then you need to call the Delivery Authority. Call us now at 630-893-7100. That's 630-893-7100. Or visit us online at thedeliveryauthority.com. That's thedeliveryauthority.com.
It's Dr. David Kolbaba.
Hey, let me tell you about our age analysis assessment. It takes just a few seconds to scan for those advanced glycated end products that cause premature aging. And then we'll briefly go over your results and give you a few things for you to do to improve. And then we'll retest you in about 60 days. And you'll pay our special low price for your first assessment, and I'll pay for your second one. That's right, your follow-up age analysis assessment is on me. And we're going to compare your biologic age with your chronologic age, and then we're going to help you determine if your biologic age is on par with your chronologic age. But you got to make that call today, not tomorrow, but today. It's our HealthQuest radio hotline, 800-794-1855. That's 800-794-1855. Second assessment free if you make that call right now, 800-794-1855. It's HealthQuest Radio with me, Dr. David Kolbaba, Saturday mornings at 11.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Larry Nora, founder and CEO of UStore-It, a network of award-winning self-storage facilities in the Chicago area, and a customer of Signature Bank. We've developed over 70 storage centers throughout the city and suburbs, and our business continues to grow. We need a bank who understands the neighborhoods and communities where we are making investments. We found that in Signature Bank. They know this city and its neighborhoods because they are based right here in Chicago. Finding a local banking institution like Signature Bank has been critical to the success of UStore-It, and we look forward to a long-term relationship.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Powerline's John Hindraker had an up-close and personal visit from the leftists. They firebombed his office, 707.
It is now 7 a.m. WIND Chicago.
They'll get a somber and heroes welcome. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The remains of 3 American soldiers killed in the attack on a U.S. base in Jordan will be flown today to Dover Air Force Base. President Biden will be there.
The White House blames the Islamic resistance in Iraq. That's an umbrella group of Iran-backed proxies. The president reportedly weighing strikes against targets in Iraq and Syria.
That's Fox's Madeline Rivera. We may find out today details of a border security compromise plan being worked out at the Senate to stop record illegal immigration. Many House Republicans are already wary of it. Speaker Mike Johnson just told Fox Business.
We have no idea who's come in, what terrorist cells are set up around our country, what they're plotting right now.
In New York City, an update on some migrants here illegally set free without bail after being charged with beating police officers.
Police believe 4 of the migrants who were released after the attack actually hopped on a bus to California Wednesday evening after giving fake names to a church group. The court says they have no idea where these 4 men are, but that they're required to return for their scheduled hearings. One of them leaving the court earlier this week, even taking the time to give the middle middle finger to reporters.
Fox's Brooks Singman. A new Fox News poll gives former President Trump an 8-point lead over President Biden in Georgia in a potential 2024 rematch. They're tied in another battleground state, Wisconsin. The president went to Michigan touting,
"We created 800,000 manufacturing jobs. Remember they told us we were dead, manufacturers dead in America? China was going to eat our lunch? Well, guess what, man? We don't taste that good."
In about a half hour, we'll get the January jobs report, expected to show 180,000 new hires, less than December. We just got a weather report from a rodent who did not see his shadow this morning.
Glad tidings on this Groundhog Day. An early spring is on the way.
That's the proclamation from Punxsutawney Phil in Pennsylvania. Of course, there are other lesser-known groundhogs in other places in the U.S. who will also predict the weather, and they often don't agree. America's listening to Fox News.
37 degrees at 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. A power outage is to blame for the evacuation of employees yesterday at the BP refinery in Whiting, Indiana. The outage reported causing more oil and gas to be burned that led to additional and normal flaring of the stacks. BP maintains its own infrastructure to support the electrical needs of its own facilities. It is not part of the local grid. Phone service, email, and internet are all still down at Lurie Children's Hospital for the second day due to what's being called a cyber security matter. Meantime, University of Chicago Medical Center announcing Thursday that around 180 employees have been laid off. There are roughly 13,000 workers at facilities owned by the University of Chicago Medical Center. Neighborhood residents mourning teen victims of a deadly shooting on the north side. A vigil held last night at the spot where Senn High School student Davion Gibson was killed on Wednesday. Meantime, Governor J.B. Pritzker and Mayor Brandon Johnson have introduced the SC2 initiative. It looks to stop gun violence in the city of Chicago.
In the spirit of collaboration, in December, I announced the People's Plan for Community Safety, my administration's commitment to a people, place-based approach to addressing the root causes of harm and violence.
According to the City of Chicago Police and their statistics, murder is up 23% in the city over the last 4 years. Over the last year, several high-end stores in the Loop, Michigan Avenue, and River North have been targeted by thieves using stolen vehicles to smash through windows and doors to gain entry. Storefront Safety Council co-founder Robert Ryder says it's well past time for the city to be more proactive. Some store owners have tried putting up their own barriers or bollards, only to be told by the city such actions are not allowed. And Ryder says something needs to be done immediately.
How many times can somebody get everything stolen from their shop and fix the front door and repair things before it's upside down? So the city will end up having a lot of vacancies, people will lose jobs, and neighborhoods go dark.
Ryder says residents are already paying a heavy price for what he views as the city's slow response to the problem. 2 more Illinois residents are accused of entering the U.S. Capitol in the January 6th rioting in 2021. Kelly Fontaine and Brian Dula of Lockport face multiple charges. However, they spent less than 10 minutes in the building. Bulls take on the Kings tomorrow night at the UC. College hoops this weekend, Fighting Illini in Nebraska, Northwestern visiting Minnesota, and DePaul hosting Xavier. The news, a service of Fox Valley Coins. No waiting, no problems, no charge for in-store verbal appraisals. Bring your gold or silver in today. FoxValleyCoins.com. A check of traffic and weather coming up next on AM 560.
Charlie Kirk doesn't see work from the RNC.
The RNC and the regime, they're lazy and complacent. They don't want to be excellent. They don't want to flourish. They don't want to be great. And that culture is all throughout the RNC. They just are kind of okay with being mediocre. They're not trying to be the best version of themselves. They're not hustling. There's a lot of people that just want to work in politics.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
A storm is on the horizon, and you need to keep the lights on no matter what. Your business relies on the power being on 24/7. It's the lifeblood of your data and computer systems. Weather-related outages from the power company are not acceptable. Your need for a source of power that's reliable 24/7, along with round-the-clock service that can dispatch technicians to your site immediately, is mission critical. Your business needs Charles Equipment Energy Systems on speed dial. These are the big boys, not residential or solar, but reliable industrial generators for emergency backup or events. When you need more than a 100-foot extension cord plugged into a small engine generator, call Charles Equipment Energy Systems. They keep the lights on with rental generators for job sites or power outages. A storm is on the horizon. Plan ahead. Call now to prepare generators for storms and potential power outages. Call 630-834-6000, 630-834-6000, or charlesequipment.com.
At Insurance Concierge, our family-operated agency provides in-person assistance with all your insurance needs: auto, home, life, health, financial, and Medicare planning. As independent agents, we represent multiple insurance companies, providing unbiased plan reviews at no cost to you. Whether you are new to Medicare or currently enrolled in a plan, experienced agents will assist you in navigating your options, answering your questions, and finding a plan to fit your specific health and prescription needs. Medicare is our focus all year long, so we will be available when you have questions. You can reach us at 815-714-0909. Insurance Concierge agents are also available to assist you with auto, home, life, health, and financial planning. Let our experienced family of Insurance Concierge agents assist you with your insurance needs. We treat you as part of our own family. Our office is located in the Ovation Center in Romeoville. Call 815-714-0909 to schedule a no-cost, no-obligation appointment. That number again is 815-714-0909.
7:08. Time to call Permaseal at 800-421-SEAL, and time to check the roads. We do that in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center. We'll start on the Edens Expressway, where we see no delays this morning, 15 minutes in from Lake Cook Road, 25 minutes in on the Kennedy O'Hare to the Byrne Circle interchange. The inbound Ike, 40 minutes, 390 into the old post office, jam solid central all the way into Costner. Big delays on the inbound Stevenson, 49 minutes inbound into DuSable Lakeshore Drive, and your jam up between Harlem Avenue and Pulaski. Disabled vehicle in the Dan Ryan Express lanes, a left lane blocked inbound between Garfield and 31st. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast. We get the very latest now with Steve Williams.
Clouds will break for some sun today, the high at 40, partly cloudy tonight, low 32, and then sunny to partly cloudy for tomorrow, the high 43. Sunny Sunday, the high 46, and then mostly sunny Monday, the high 47. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
In our QC Kinetics Weather Center, we see 37 at O'Hare, 39 at Midway, 35 along the lakefront. Your next news update is at 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. As always, The Simpsons was years and years ahead of the satirical politics that dominates our day, though it's not satire, it's reality. I enjoy this exchange, thinking about that, between RealClearPolitics.com's Phil Wegman and Karine Jean-Pierre, White House spokeswoman, when it was announced that Biden will, at some point in the not-too-distant future, be visiting East Palestine, Ohio. This exchange between Wegman and her.
And then next month, when the president is in East Palestine, will he drink the water there?
I mean, look, what I can tell you is the president's focus has been to do everything that he can to support this community from day one. We get what's going on the ground. We understand what's going. That's why we've had the EPA. That's why we had DOT. That's why we had HHS. That's why we've had FEMA on the ground. You know, this is not about some sort of like political stunt here. This is not about. This is not what this is about. This is about this president being a president for everyone and showing up for this community. That's what this is about.
Johnny on the spot a year later. But I mean, it's just so reminds me of when Mr. Burns ran for governor, and he had the photo op, canned dinner at the Simpson household, and of course, this is when Marge sprung fish for dinner from the river outside the nuclear plant that he owns.
I remember this one.
Smells delightful.
Uh-oh.
All right, three-eyed fish. Can I have your plate, Mr. Burns?
Yeah, and that tubed his gubernatorial campaign in The Simpsons. So, I mean, just borrowing from Phil Wegman, I hope somebody, when the big guy, Mr. 10%, shows up, offers him a glass of freshly squeezed water from the faucets of East Palestine.
Oh, you know he's not going in anyone's house to even be tempted to drink that water. They would not let him touch that. And why even bother going? I mean, it's just so... Such a photo op.
Because he cares.
Yeah.
That's why. Of course.
Does anybody live there anymore? I mean, I know there's still some business owners there, but most people have moved out.
Palestine. It's like Frankenstein. John Hinderakers, president of the Center for the American Experiment, contributor to Powerline at PowerlineBlog.com. He joins us now. John, thanks as always for being with us. Were you moved by Karine Jean-Pierre's description of the impetus for president to finally get over to East Palestine, Ohio?
So, Dan, when Joe Biden is done in East Palestine, he can come out to Golden Valley, Minnesota, and survey the wreckage of my office, which was firebombed over the weekend, presumably by leftists.
Yeah, I was reading about that. You were you in D.C. when this happened? Because I know you were attending the Mark Stein trial about the hockey stick.
I was in D.C. for part of this week. This actually happened Saturday night, about 2 o'clock in the morning. That'd be Sunday morning. So the building was deserted. It's a good-sized building, but not very high, only about 3 stories. A few miles west of downtown Minneapolis. About 2 o'clock in the morning, somebody broke into our building, and they started 2 separate fires. On the ground floor, they started a fire in the corridor outside my office. Now, Center of the American Experiment is the main conservative organization in Minnesota. We have 22 people working in that office, so it's pretty good-sized. And then we sublease space to a group called Take Charge, which reaches out primarily to young black people, encourages them to be self-sufficient, don't be victims, be victors, and so on. So we sublease that space to them. So in the corridor between our office and the Take Charge office, these arsonists started one fire. And then on the 3rd floor, they started a completely different fire at the office of the Upper Midwest Law Center, which is a conservative public interest law firm, which I'm on the board of. They either started that fire right outside the UMLC office, or they may have broken the door down and started the fire inside that office. It is completely destroyed.
Well, you're so lucky because I know a lot of people work late night. I mean, that nobody was in the building at the time.
Yeah, apparently nobody was in the building, but fortunately somebody saw the fire, called the fire department. They got there very fast. They got the fire extinguished. But it's going to be months before any part of that building reopens, and I don't know whether we will ever be able to reoccupy our offices. We may be. I'm trying to sort that out with the building, the insurance companies, and so forth. But in the meantime, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms is investigating the fire per se, causes of the fire, and the FBI is looking for the perpetrators. There's no question that it was arson. That's a given.
That's what they've concluded. They've already concluded that.
Oh yeah, no, it's an arson investigation. And frankly, it's obvious when you start one fire on the ground floor, different fire on the third floor. That's not going to be a coincidence. Right. And that building is full of small businesses. There are psychologists and chiropractors and financial advisors and so forth. And they didn't target any of those people. They targeted the three conservative organizations. It's the three leading conservative organizations in Minnesota. So I am working closely with the FBI to try to identify potential suspects.
Well, do you have a list of potential suspects?
Yeah.
Oh.
I say that again?
I said I hope you're not Catholic. So the FBI? Do you think they're going to devote the same level of intensity and resources that they devoted to finding the pro-abortion types that firebomb the offices of pro-life centers and pro-family groups and so forth?
Well, I hope it's not the same, Dan. I mean, so far it seems like we've had a good cooperative relationship with them. We have a camera inside our office. And we have a door, but it's pointed toward the door. There's a glass panel, just a thin glass panel next to the door. And I understand that our camera, even though these people didn't actually enter our office, they're trying to get 2 for 1, by starting the fire in the corridor. But I believe that our camera actually caught some of the arson action through that glass panel. And the only way you can really get to our building, there's a highway and then there's a frontage road, next to the highway. And you can't really get to our building except on that frontage road. There are cameras on that road. And the number of cars on that road at 2 o'clock in the morning, on a Saturday night is not large. And so, it may well be that license plate numbers can be identified. And so I have no idea whether these arsonists will be caught or not, but it's a possibility.
Well, just in time for election season. And if people want to see the damage that's done, go to powerlineblog.com and you could see it there. So are you afraid for your own personal safety? Do you have any security with you?
Amy, I don't have any security. I get death threats periodically, but who doesn't? Everybody who's active publicly in the conservative movement, periodically will get a death threat. And I've sent a couple of those onto the FBI, but I don't think it's one of those people. I think it's more likely. There are a lot of possibilities. It could be eco-terrorism. We're very active in the energy space. We've done energy work in 16 states as well as D.C. Opposing wind and solar projects. Eco-terrorism is a possibility. We're very pro-law enforcement. After the George Floyd riots, we put up 35 billboards around the Twin Cities saying support our police and did a petition campaign and so on. 7 times those billboards got defaced by people who left behind the Antifa symbol. So, Antifa types are a possibility. We've opposed public sector unions. That's a possibility. We've announced that our annual dinner speaker this year is going to be Naftali Bennett, the former Prime Minister of Israel. And so pro-Hamas people conceivably, could have done this. We've been very harshly critical of the current Tim Walz administration in Minnesota. So maybe just a couple of rabid Democrats. I don't know, but there are a lot of possibilities. No, I don't worry about my own security. But we will be talking to our landlord about possible security upgrades going forward.
Again, I mean, you've got maybe Ilhan Omar can make an introduction for you to Cori Bush, and she can tell you all about cobbling together security details.
Well, I'm not sure I've got quite the budget that some of those folks do.
Yeah, there you go. I'm obviously it's terrible that occurred. I'm sorry to hear that. I assume, thanks to the digital age, your people will be able to work remotely and you'll be able to keep the work at American Experiment going.
Yeah, we're a highly collaborative organization. We can work remotely for a while, but at the end of the day, we need to have an office. We need to be together. So I'm going to be looking. Our building is part of a 3-building complex. I know there are some vacancies within that complex. I just haven't had a chance to do this yet, but I'll be talking to our landlord about maybe finding, probably not all in one place, but maybe in a couple of locations in the same complex, some temporary office space.
Since you invoked George Floyd, we were talking about crime in metropolitan areas still, as you guys write about as well. And just we had a big announcement yesterday in Chicago. The mayor and the governor, we're going to, instead of spending $200 million a year on violence prevention, it's going to be $400 million to try and reduce homicides by 50% over 5 years. And you're hearing the same thing in D.C., in Seattle, in Austin, Baltimore. It's not, we can't arrest our way out of it. We can't prosecute our way out of it. We have to spend our way out of it, essentially. And I wonder what sort of status update you can give us about Minneapolis.
Well, we're in a terrible situation here. After the George Floyd trial where the chief of police testified against Derek Chauvin, it's kind of hard for the city of Minneapolis to hire police officers, And just recently, within the last days, we've had another incident where the Hennepin County attorney, Hennepin County is Minneapolis plus, Hennepin County attorney ran on a platform of not prosecuting criminals, and she's been true to her word. She has now charged a state highway patrolman with second-degree murder in an incident arising out of a very dangerous encounter with a convicted felon illegally in possession of a handgun. And so, here we go again with the authorities prosecuting the police instead of the criminals. This time, though, it may be different. He's getting a lot of public support. He's hired a very good, very aggressive lawyer. And maybe it'll be a turning point. But in the meantime, it's just very difficult for the police departments in this area to hire officers.
I don't know if we've talked to you since we talked to Liz Cullen, who is the investigative journalist who did that Fall of Minneapolis documentary. But I wonder what your reaction to that documentary was and what kind of impact it's having on understanding of the George Floyd incident in Minneapolis.
Yeah, well, it certainly has been widely viewed. I think there are aspects of it that are debatable, specifically in connection with the George Floyd incident. I think that the way it traces the horror of the George Floyd riots and the impact they've had in the city of Minneapolis, which has been devastating, I think is right on the mark, and it's something that we who live here have seen with our own eyes. But, the fact that they burned down, the police were told to evacuate the 3rd Precinct station and abandon it to the rioters, and the rioters burned it down. It hasn't been rebuilt to this day. That was a horrible, horrible moment in the history of law enforcement in the United States, and it's one from which this area has not recovered.
John
Do you see
Hendrick,
it recovering anytime soon, though, or do you think it's just gone forever?
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of people who, they still live in this metropolitan area, but they don't go into Minneapolis. That's fairly common.
Yeah, fairly common in Chicago, too. John Hinderaker, president of the Center of the American Experiment, contributor to Powerline, powerlineblog.com. John, good luck with that situation. Keep us updated about, the status on that investigation, as well as getting new digs for the Center for the American Experiment, too.
Will do. Thanks a lot, Dan. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I'm glad you're safe. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, Joe Gigante, host of the nationally syndicated Regular Joe Show based right here in Wisconsin. You deserve a state representative who represents you. Your current representative, Robin Vos, is working against you and against President Trump. Listen to what he had to say in his own words.
Will you work to elect Trump in 2024 if he's the Republican nominee?
Well, I'm going to start by doing everything in my power to make sure he's not.
He's following through with that promise by protecting Megan Wolf, the one who allowed drop boxes, Zuckerbucks, and many other illegal influences in our elections. There are 2 ways you can help shut down this corruption. The first is by joining us this Sunday, February 4th at 1:30 in the afternoon at Fountain Banquet Hall at 8505 Durand Avenue in Sturtevant, Wisconsin. I'll be there along with MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell. Plus, you'll find a petition to recall Voss in your mailboxes this week. Please fill it out and mail it back in, or bring it out to the event this Sunday, February 4th at Fountain Banquet Hall at 8505 Durand Avenue, Sturtevant, Wisconsin. You can learn more at recallvoss.com.
Paid for by Recall Voss.
All right, when you give your body the best possible fuel, guess what? You have more energy, you're stronger. And that's why I take Balance of Nature. I'm not getting enough fruits and veggies on my own, and that's where Balance of Nature comes in. What they do is they take the fruits and vegetables and they turn them into a powdery substance after an advanced vacuum cold process, which stabilizes the maximum nutrient content. Real food, real science, real nutrition. So get the nutrition your body needs and the nutrition your body craves, because once you start taking Balance of Nature, you don't want to go back. The number to call is 800-246-8751, 800-246-8751. Use discount code Chicago. First-timers get free shipping and 35% off their first preferred order of fruits and veggies, or simply go online to balanceofnature.com. Discount code Chicago.
Is your local delivery provider unreliable? Do your same-day deliveries never get there the same day? Or has your delivery service left you out in the cold this winter? Then you need to know about the Delivery Authority. We are exceptional people that deliver flawless service. We are a logistics company based in Naperville that specializes in same-day, next-day, and final mile deliveries. At the Delivery Authority, our account managers own the entire delivery process, from the pickup to final delivery, with real-time tracking that helps assure that your freight gets there safely, in good condition, and on time. And although we are a local company, our delivery footprint extends throughout the Midwest. So if you need a trusted local partner who can provide customized delivery solutions, on-time delivery performance, and hands-on customer service, then you need to call the Delivery Authority. Call us now at 630-893-7100. That's 630-893-7100. Or visit us online at thedeliveryauthority.com. That's thedeliveryauthority.com.
All right, we're going to have a string of nice days in Chicago, plenty of sunshine over the weekend, and that's the perfect time to call our good friends at Permaseal. Why? Well, in between storms is the best time to do it, and they could come in and check out your basement and your crawl space. And they also have crawl space encapsulation structural repairs and a new attic insulation service. So be sure to call the number for a free estimate. The number to call is 800-421-7325. That's 800-421-SEAL. You know, they've helped over 500,000 customers in Northwest Indiana and the Chicagoland area, and they can help you, but you have to call them for that free estimate. 800-421-SEAL, 800-421-7325, or visit permaseal.net.
You're smart, you're busy, and don't have time to waste on the mainstream media cycle. Salem News Channel breaks that cycle. Topics that matter, from hosts worth watching, Dinesh D'Souza, Andrew Wilkow, Brandon Tatum, and more. Open debate and free speech you won't find anywhere else. Salem News Channel, not like the other guys. Watch anytime on any screen, free 24/7. Find everything you need to know at snc.tv. That's snc.tv.
As a local business owner, you get called every week by marketing companies. We get it. We have hundreds of satisfied customers. Here's what a satisfied client recently said.
Open enrollment is going great. We're hitting record numbers. Thank you so much for this report. It really is amazing to see how the marketing is really shaping our enrollment around the city.
If you're a local business and ready for the next step, visit surroundchicago.com right now. Our experts are ready to help you take your marketing to the next level. Visit surroundchicago.com today.
The IRS is the most powerful collection agency on earth, and if you owe back taxes, the news isn't good. The IRS is raising the interest rate it charges on unpaid taxes, and further rate hikes are expected. Most people don't know it, but the IRS adds interest charges to your tax debts daily. So if you owe the IRS today, you'll owe even more tomorrow. And it doesn't stop until you get right with the IRS. The good news is getting right can start with one phone call to Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax relief firm. Optima's tax professionals specialize in the Fresh Start Initiative, a powerful IRS program that can save you thousands if you qualify. In fact, the experts at Optima have resolved over $1 billion in tax debt for their clients. Call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
AM 560.
The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
7:37, we'll head back to north of the Cheddar Curtain with Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson. Get an update on what he understands to be the state of negotiation over immigration. 7:37.
But now let's head into that newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
7:30 in Chicago. 37 degrees this morning. And President Biden will join families of 3 American soldiers who were killed overseas when their remains are returned to the U.S. today. The 3 Army Reserve soldiers were killed in Jordan last weekend. Negotiators from Qatar say Hamas has given its initial positive confirmation to a proposed deal that would release hostages during a pause in the Gaza war. Qatar's foreign ministry says Israel agreed to parts of that proposal during a meeting in Paris. However, senior Israeli officials this morning are denying anything has been approved. Florida officials say multiple people are dead after a small plane crashed into a mobile home park near Clearwater, Florida.
We're in the process of working through with FAA and NTSB to identify the aircraft as well as the pilot or any other members that may have been aboard that aircraft.
Clearwater Fire Chief Scott Ehlers says there were deaths in both the plane and in the mobile homes. Crews are still combing the wreckage. A truck loaded with liquid petroleum gas cylinders exploded and then set off a late-night inferno, burning homes and warehouses in Kenya's capital. At least 3 are dead, more than 270 injured. The death toll is going higher. Much of Alaska has plunged into a deep freeze, and when I mean a deep freeze, I mean 40 degrees below zero in recent days. To the south, the state capital of Juneau set a January snowfall record of 6.4 feet. Punxsutawney Phil says we'll have an early spring. He emerged from his tree stump this morning in Gobbler's Knob, failed to see his shadow. Our own Woodstock Willie, on this Groundhog Day, also did not see his shadow. Power outage to blame for the evacuation yesterday of the BP refinery in Whiting, Indiana. Out of an abundance of caution, BP temporarily evacuated employees. Phone service, email, and internet are all still down at Lurie Children's Hospital for the second day in what's being called a cybersecurity matter. Governor J.B. Pritzker introduced the SC2 initiative yesterday, looking to try and stop gun violence in the city of Chicago.
Then I established the first ever state office of firearm violence prevention. Now communities have a dedicated state resource for technical assistance, for training, policy recommendations, while we provide investments to fuel the work.
According to Chicago police statistics, shootings are up 14% in the city over the last 4 years. The village of Dixmoor is under a state of emergency following a number of water main breaks. The village president, Fitzgerald Roberts, says at least a dozen water main breaks have taken place along 141st Street. Currently, there is a boil water order in effect for the village. 7:33, the news, a service of Fox Valley Coins. In Naperville, easy to get to off I-88 and Route 59 in Naperville, family-owned Integrity since 1981. FoxValleyCoins.com. A check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka puts it simply.
3 of our servicemen are dead thanks to an Iranian drone strike, and 40 are in hospital. This is the cost, the real cost in terms of human life, of having people who hate America running America. It's really that simple.
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm always on the road driving, and I take care of people's dogs. I do feel a difference. And I'm always telling everybody about take Balance of Nature, take Balance of Nature. And the fiber and spice is really great. You know, sometimes when you're on the road all the time and you don't eat right and stuff, I take that and it's wonderful. It's very good.
Step into the new year with a new you. Start your journey to better health by calling 1-800-246-8751 or by going to balanceofnature.com and signing up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order, plus a free fiber and spice supplement with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Hurry, this is your last chance to take advantage of this offer. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
As most Americans suffer financially, gold just hit an all-time high. Hi, I'm Dr. Ron Paul, and this is why you need a physical gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. To learn more, text the word SHELTER to 989898 to get your free info kit on gold IRAs. Secure your IRA or your 401k right now. Text SHELTER to 989898 to request your free info kit right now.
Would you like a new home or $450,000 for only $100? You heard correctly. Gaelic Park Charities is excited to announce its $650,000 home or cash raffle. Hello, this is John Quinn, the voice of Irish sports and special events at Chicago Gaelic Park. On the 24th of March 2024, we're raffling off a new construction, two-story, single-family home located in the heart of Chicago's Mount Greenwood neighborhood. This beautiful custom home has 4 bedrooms and 2.5 baths with all the modern touches. The neighborhood has excellent schools, parks and amenities, and if you're not in the market for a new home, the winner can opt for a $450,000 cash prize instead. The proceeds of each $100 ticket benefit Gaelic Park Charities, a registered 501c3 dedicated to promoting and preserving Irish heritage and culture in Chicagoland. Purchase your tickets at ChicagoGaelicParkHouseRaffle.com. That's Chicago Gaelic, Gaelic, parkhouseraffle.com.
Lots of channels, nothing to watch, especially if you're looking outside of big corporate control. It's time to interrupt your regularly scheduled programs with something worth watching. The new Salem News Channel. Straightforward, unfiltered, in-depth insight and analysis from the greatest collection of conservative minds, all in one place. SNC is home to Dennis Prager, Mike Gallagher, Sebastian Gorka, and more. Watch anytime on any screen. Free 24/7. Find what you're looking for at snc.tv.
Imagine what your future looks like. Is the picture a little blurry? Hey, it's Sean Thompson here for Alpha Wealth Group. When we look ahead, we're visualizing where we want to be, and for retirement, that can be hard without a written financial plan. Tom Fortino of Alpha Wealth Group can help you bring your retirement picture into focus. For decades, Tom has been crafting customized financial strategies. His goal is to help you protect your savings, grow your wealth, and create an income strategy you cannot outlive. If you're nearing or already in retirement, it's time to get your plan on paper. So bring your readers and let's take a look at it closely. Call Tom at 630-934-1855 and schedule a complimentary retirement consultation. There is no cost, there is no obligation. This is a chance to get a clearer view of your retirement. The number again is 630-934-1855 or visit alphawealthgroup.com. And listen to the Alpha Wealth Hour Saturday mornings right here on AM 560 The Answer.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
Download the free Upside app to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code GIFT for an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first fill-up. That's promo code GIFT.
7:38. Get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Outbound on the Kennedy stop-and-go traffic, Montrose out to Sayre. Inbound Kennedy jams up 17th to Kedzie, 45 minutes into the old post office. Heavy and solid traffic, Harlem to Kedzie on the inbound Stevenson. It is 50 minutes from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Metra has delays, irregular service because the Ventra app, once again, is not functioning as intended. Customers trying to make purchases and even possibly buying tickets are having issues this morning across the system. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Cooler with clouds breaking for some sun, high near 40. Sunny to partly cloudy tomorrow, high 43. Sunday, plenty of sun, a high of 46. It's 37 at O'Hare, 39 at Midway. And your next news update is at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Our friend Dan Henninger, that is, over at the Wall Street Journal, and the Wall Street Journal editorial board has been making the case for this deal that we were told we don't know the details to. It's all internet rumors by Senator Jim Lankford from Oklahoma. But then he goes on Fox News Sunday with Shannon Bream and essentially confirms the details by responding to her questions about the details that have been circulating. So I'm a little leery of the posture that Lankford and McConnell are taking on this. And by extension, the Wall Street Journal editorial board and Henninger, who I like a lot, but he writes, if the Republicans have been screaming bloody murder about migrant crossings and are on the brink of impeaching Mayorkas for not doing his duty, how can they justify allowing the Mayorkas policy continue unabated all this year? This is sort of the argument of take something instead of nothing, even if your accusation is right that all it does is slow the flow in. But to that I would say, well, no, because it's going to be hailed as a solution to the lawlessness at the border. The attention will dissipate, the attention on this issue and on what's happening will dissipate, and so will the political urgency of doing something that is substantively in advance of border security as opposed to, performatively in advance. So I just can't go along with Lankford and the Journal editorial board and our friend Dan Henninger, but this is part of the discussion on the right side of the spectrum. Just to go back to what Lankford said in that interview, and particularly the one aspect of it that is the most talked about and repudiated, this idea of 5,000 migrant rolling averages and then the border closes. So it's the feeling, or essentially the assertion that, okay, we're going to, instead of tens of thousands on a daily basis and on some days, it's okay if you're under 5,000 on a daily basis, and then but if the rolling average, a 5-day rolling average gets over that, then all of a sudden we get serious about stopping people from entering this country illegally. Doesn't seem to make much sense. Doesn't seem like that's border security. Here's how Lankford explained it.
It would be absolutely absurd for me to agree to 5,000 people a day. This bill focuses on getting us to 0 illegal crossings a day. There's no amnesty. It increases the number of Border Patrol agents. It increases asylum officers. It increases detention beds so we can quickly detain and then deport individuals. It ends catch and release. It focuses on additional deportation flights out. It changes our asylum process so that people get a fast asylum screening at a higher standard and then get returned back to their home country. This is not about letting 5,000 people in a day. This is the most misunderstood section of this proposal. Let me tell you briefly what it is. In the last 4 months, we've had 7 days. In 4 months, we've had 7 days that we had less than 5,000 people. This is set up for if you have a rush of people coming at the border closes down, no one gets in. This is not someone standing at the border with a little clicker saying, I'm going to let one more in, we're at 4,999, and then it has to stop. It is a shutdown of the border, and everyone actually gets turned around.
Okay.
That's the focus that we have right now, is how do we actually intervene in this administration and turn people around, not let people in.
To help us understand where things stand on the Senate side, we're pleased to be joined by Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson. Senator Johnson, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Morning. Happy to be here.
So how do you respond to what Jim Lankford said?
Well, it's actually very difficult to respond because I have not seen a word of text. And quite honestly, he has not explained it even in that great a detail as he did on Shannon Bream inside the conference, even though I called a conference meeting to discuss this. So what concerns me about this, in that conference meeting, the senator asked Senator Lankford well, what's your goal to these negotiations? And, I thought the answer would have been, well, to secure the border. Basically what he was saying there. He said, well, we know this president's not serious. It's going to take time. So my goal is to make sure that the next president has the tools to secure the border. Now, that may be a worthy goal in divided government, when you can't get Democrats to agree to anything because they want an open border, they cause this problem, but that's not what the expectation is. And here's my primary concern, is by setting these thresholds. You got 5,000 where it's mandatory, they shut the border down, they don't really explain how they're going to do that. But then at 4,000, it's mandatory. Is this going to actually make it more difficult for a future president? Is this going to hinder a future president that wants to secure the border, that he will not have the discretion that he right now? Every president has the authority under Section 212F of the Immigration Naturalization Act. The Supreme Court said it exudes deference to the administration. So the speakers argued this. People like Mark Morgan and Tom Homan have argued this. The president already has the authority to shut the border down. Is this bill going to make it give the president less authority? Is this going to hinder a future president saying, no, you can't shut the border down. You can't use that authority that you already have unless it hits 4,000 a day? These are serious questions. I've been raising these now ever since some of these details started leaking out. I've gotten no answers whatsoever. And when I ask legitimate questions, I expect to get answers to them, and I'm not getting them.
What about the proposal to increase green cards by 50,000 a year? Any answers to that?
Again, I've heard that. We haven't seen the text. They are saying it's going to cost a lot of money. Okay, because you're going to have to hire agents to handle 4,000 or 5,000 a day once you normalize that. I mean, are we going to spend more money on sanctuary cities to make it easier on migrants, more pleasant for migrants who all have cell phones? You're going to call down to Central America and say, yeah, across the border, 8 hours I was on a plane. I'm up here. They put me in a hotel room, give me good meals. That's just going to incentivize. It's going to exacerbate the problem. Again, if it's in there, that is insane. What we need to do is we need a surge right now. Shut the border down now, which was basically what President Trump did over 12 months. He went from peak to trough.
Well, I mean,
without any help from Congress, without any new change in the laws whatsoever.
Yeah, that's exactly the point that's so confusing, and I don't understand the Langford position, and I don't think he's articulated even on TV about giving the next president the tools. Well, first of all, if you don't believe this president is a good faith actor, then what is the purpose of this negotiation? Number one. Number two is, right, I mean, Mike Johnson just gave a half-hour speech on the House floor yesterday with, detailing the 64 executive actions President Biden took to weaken the border, and some of the key ones like end of Title 42 and end of Remain in Mexico, and ending the construction of the border wall. These are obvious ones. So if you did it by executive order, you can reverse what you did by executive order too. So it's not a question of executive authority; it's a question of executive political will. And Langford seems to be conceding that the executive doesn't have the political will. So what are we talking about?
Well, you're exactly right. I mean, McConnell got snookered into this. Okay, McConnell's the mastermind here, because McConnell wants funding for Ukraine. He realizes in his conference that there's a division, and they may not be able to pass support for Ukraine. They'd rather secure the Ukraine's borders than our own. And so, as a sweetener, they came up with, we're going to demand border security, but he wasn't serious about it. And so the first thing he took off the table is what we were talking about in our conference, had a great deal of support, is, okay, well, if we give them funding to Ukraine, well, let's make that contingent on actually securing the border. Let's set benchmarks, performance measurements, doing in business all the time, right? We were pushing that, had a great deal of support in the conference. Without telling the conference at all, we've learned that McConnell basically told Langford that's off the table. And we heard from Kristen Sinema, James never asked for that. So we took the exact leverage we might have had with the administration wanting funding for Ukraine and took that leverage away.
Well, wait.
My standpoint has been a joke from the beginning. It is. They just got completely snookered. Let's put it that way. And now it's been turned around. It's been twisted where it's our fault that the border's not secure. I mean, this is beyond absurd.
Well, so McConnell, I mean, first of all, the EU just gave Ukraine $54 billion, so maybe that obviates some of our responsibility. But regardless of that, so McConnell is pushing a phony border security measure in order to give real U.S. tax dollars to Ukraine. Why would that be his priority over border security, particularly with the with the exigency of the issue in this election cycle? I thought he wants to be Senate Majority Leader.
I have no idea. Well, I think he's always thought that he could spend his way in the majority. When he became leader of the Republican Senate Conference back in 2007, our debt stood below $10 trillion. Now it's approaching $35 trillion. And in all that time period, there's been one constant factor. There's been one person in every debt ceiling negotiation, every spending negotiation. That's Mitch McConnell. So he doesn't apparently care about mortgaging our children's future. He certainly hasn't dug his heels in ever. And here's just another example of it. Another $110 billion. He's not asking you to pay for it. At a minimum, a Republican leader who wants to spend more money on Ukraine ought to be saying, okay, Mr. President, if you want to spend another $110 billion, 800 and some billion in our own defense isn't enough, let's take away some of your green energy boondoggle spending and at least pay for it, right? That's what a principled Republican leader would do. But instead, Mitch McConnell enters into, false, phony negotiations on the border and comes up with this Rube Goldberg plan, is what it seems. It's not going to secure the border, but just might have enough support to pass the Senate, but doesn't have a chance in the House. What's the point? And set us up to be blamed. Great job, huh?
Yeah. Well, Senator Johnson, the question I have for you is, why is Biden doing this? Why is he letting thousands of people in every day for the last 3 years?
The only explanation I have is every one of those individuals coming across the border is very, very appreciative to Joe Biden and the Democrats. And they will become dependent on our system, and they will be reliable voters because the Democrats want to make cheating on our elections easy, which is that's what mail-in balloting is all about. That's what pushing absentee ballots while you relax all the controls on them is about. So it's the only explanation I have because it's obviously a clear and present danger to this nation. You've got all the warning signs flashing, according to FBI Director Wray. The threat from foreign terrorist organizations is as high as it's been since 9/11. Gee, I wonder how foreign fighters would get into this nation. Are sleeper cells already here? Is that why he's so weak on Iran? Again, this makes no sense, and the vast majority of the American people want a secure border. So, again, I don't know why McConnell would play into Biden and Schumer's hands, but that's exactly what he's done.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you, and even more so after I read a memo that was put together by Cleta Mitchell, who I'm sure you know, well-regarded election attorney, and she really gives the details on the opportunities under the way that the Supreme Court has interpreted the National Voter Registration Act, the infrastructure at the state level. She really details the opportunities for all these, say 1.8 million gotaways to wind up on padding the voter rolls, and as you say, likely more for Democrats than otherwise. Has there been any discussion about that, some of what Cleta Mitchell proposes as reforms to statutory law, starting with the National Voter Registration Act, as well as the law that governs overseas voting for ex-military and expats not in this country?
Well, there's a real reluctance about bringing up election law in Congress because elections should be handled at a state level. And you start opening up on a national level, you see what Democrats are doing in terms of open border. You see what they want to do. So it's, I actually agree with those. On a national level, let's keep the hands off here. We need to concentrate on taking control over state governments and then establishing strong controls over our elections on a state-by-state basis.
Yeah, I mean, I with the balance of power, I understand. But I mean, even just raising this issue to put the states on notice. I mean, I'm just citing from her memo here. For example, she asks, the Biden administration has ordered every federal agency to register everyone who comes in contact with the agency. So what protections exist to stop the voter registration of migrants by DHS?
Yeah, what we should be doing is using the power of the purse, and we do have a majority in the House, and not allow these agencies to spend any money in that manner. That's something we can do. We should be doing that. But unfortunately, Democrats have a majority in the Senate, and those types of measures probably won't pass either. But we should be raising the issue. There's no doubt about it. I certainly have talked about the irregularities. I'm the only guy that held a hearing as chairman of the committee about examining the irregularities of the 2020 election. Of course, I got slaughtered for it.
Yes.
But it's indisputable that there are all kinds of irregularities in the 2020 election. Election fraud does occur. It's just a question of to what extent.
What do you think is, let me put it another way, do you think the administration of the election in Wisconsin this year is going to be better than it was in 2020?
It certainly was in 2022 because we got a lot more paid poll workers, over 5,000. We've signed up over 5,000 for this election. So now we have paid poll workers plus poll observers. So we're keeping our eye on the process, and it did help in 2022. For example, Milwaukee got its election results in by, I think, 11 o'clock at night. So I knew I'd won, even though Mandela Barnes hadn't conceded. But, we did improve the process. Now, help from Tony Evers at all.
Right.
The Wisconsin legislature passed laws. He vetoed them. But just having eyes on the process, I think, made a pretty big difference.
He is Wisconsin Republican Senator Ron Johnson. Senator Johnson, great to have you as always. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Hi, Joe Gigante, host of the nationally syndicated Regular Joe Show based right here in Wisconsin. You deserve a state representative who represents you. Your current representative, Robin Vos, is working against you and against President Trump. Listen to what he had to say in his own words.
Will you work to elect Trump in 2024 if he's the Republican nominee?
Well, I'm going to start by doing everything in my power to make sure he's not.
He's following through with that promise by protecting Megan Wolf, the one who allowed drop boxes, Zuckerbucks, and many other illegal influences in our elections. There are two ways you can help shut down this corruption. The first is by joining us this Sunday, February 4th at 1:30 in the afternoon at Fountain Banquet Hall at 8505 Durand Avenue in Sturtevant, Wisconsin. I'll be there along with MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell. Plus, you'll find a petition to recall Vos in your mailboxes this week. Please fill it out and mail it back in or bring it out to the event this Sunday, February 4th at Fountain Banquet Hall at 8505 Durand Avenue, Sturtevant, Wisconsin. You can learn more at recallvos.com.
Paid for by Recall Voss.
It's a new year, and that means New Year's resolutions. Hi, Amy Jacobson here. And if one of your New Year's resolutions was to do more to help others, then we want to let you know that you still have the opportunity to make a difference in the lives of children in Latin America and the Caribbean through Food for the Poor. Your donation of just $80 provides food for an entire year for 2 children. That's life-changing. Just because the Christmas season is over, that doesn't mean that the need has gone away. Food for the Poor is a faith-based organization that works with partners on the ground to make sure these children are fed. We talk a lot about the root causes of our immigration crisis, and one of those causes is the situation in many of these countries. This is your chance to help take care of others. To make a donation of any amount, just visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor. That's 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor. Thanks again for your generosity.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
It's awesome stuff. I just love the product. I am so glad I seen the commercial, went for it, and ordered me some. And then my husband said, "Have you seen that commercial of Balance of Nature?" So and I looked at him and I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "I think we ought to try it." And I says, "I am." And so I says, "I'll order you some." He loves it. I love it. We won't be without it.
Step into the new year with a new you. Start your journey to better health by going to balanceofnature.com and signing up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order, plus a free fiber and spice supplement with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Hurry, this is your last chance to take advantage of this offer. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
353,000 new jobs in January. How many of them were public sector? We'll start there with Jim Perry at 8:08.
And then later it's Open Mic Friday, but now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
An outage at the BP refinery in Whiting, Indiana leads to an employee evacuation, and the U of C Medical Center is cutting jobs. Bulls host the Kings tomorrow night, and WIND Chicago News Time is 8 o'clock.
A surge in hiring to start the year.
I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, and the report just out this morning.
There were 353,000 new jobs created last month, nearly twice the number forecast by economists. The unemployment rate remained the same at 3.7%.
That's Fox's Ginny Casola. Later today, President Biden will be at Dover Air Force Base for the return of 3 American soldiers in flag-draped caskets. They were killed in the attack on a U.S. base in Jordan. A U.S. retaliation is coming, a multi-pronged response. Some Republicans want the U.S. to hit Iran directly. GOP Senator Kevin Cramer just told Fox.
The swiftness of the response is part of the projection of strength that we need, and it's already too late to do it swiftly. And the fact that they didn't already have targets in mind in case something like this happened, so that they could respond quickly.
They still don't know yet for sure how many people were killed on a small plane radioed a Mayday right after takeoff in Clearwater, Florida, then went down.
Crashing into a home last night and then bursting into flames. We know that that home was completely destroyed. 3 more nearby damaged by the fire. Thankfully, though, we are told by the fire chief here that inside those neighboring homes, those people were able to safely escape.
Kelly Cowan with Fox 13 TV in Clearwater. The Senate may release details as soon as today of the bipartisan compromise being worked out on border security. Some Republicans oppose a deal with Democrats as they push to impeach the head of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, blaming him for record illegal immigration. House Speaker Mike Johnson tells Fox Business.
Mayorkas is an unmitigated disaster as a cabinet secretary. I believe he's the worst in the history of the country.
Spring is going to be sprung on us early this year, if you believe groundhogs.
What this weather did not provide is a shadow or reason to hide.
And because Punxsutawney Phil did not see a shadow in Pennsylvania this morning, we will not get 6 more weeks of winter. Other less famous groundhogs agree. Staten Island Chuck in New York, Buckeye Chuck in Ohio, and General Beauregard Lee in Georgia. America's listening to Fox News.
37 degrees at 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. A power outage to blame for the evacuation of employees at a BP refinery in Whiting, Indiana. It led to an additional and normal flaring of stacks out of an abundance of caution. BP does maintain its own power infrastructure and is not part of the local grid. Phone service, email, and internet all reportedly still down at Lurie Children's Hospital over what is called a cybersecurity threat. Some surgeries were canceled. Children's prescriptions and patient portal data also impacted. Meantime, the University of Chicago Medical Center is announcing it's laying off around 180 employees. Governor J.B. Pritzker is disappointed, he says, that the Chicago City Council this week passed a resolution calling for a ceasefire in the war between Israel and Hamas terrorists in Gaza.
I was disappointed that no consideration was given to the women who were raped by Hamas fighters who crossed over into Israel, kidnapped people, that the deaths that were caused by those terrorists were not acknowledged.
He also criticized the wording of the symbolic resolution, saying it didn't include all perspectives. An infestation of bed bugs has been discovered at a South Suburban high school. Bed bugs discovered in many parts of Thornwood High School in South Holland. The infestation will be treated over the weekend. Bulls host the Kings at the United Center tomorrow night. Baseball, about 15 days until pitchers and catchers report. And overnight, the Orioles add a big arm to their rotation. Baltimore acquiring former Cy Young winner Corbin Burns from the Brewers in exchange for several players and the number 34 overall pick in this year's draft. 8:04, time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now the very latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Lauren Simonetti, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Upbeat earnings from Meta Platforms and Amazon are pushing NASDAQ futures higher. Meta, parent company of Facebook and Instagram, declared its first ever dividend, 50 cents a share, and will buy back stock. Amazon Web Services saw a jump in business because of demand for artificial intelligence. Though Apple shares are losing ground, its earnings topped forecasts and saw a decline in its China business, where it's facing competition and the economy there is uncertain. Both Chevron and ExxonMobil reported earnings that topped forecasts. Clorox shares are higher. It reported an upbeat quarter and is raising its forecast for the year. Wall Street will be reacting today to the Labor Department's January employment report. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Coselda, invested in you.
8:05, a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher hopes Biden takes this seriously.
Now, Congress is clashing fiercely over the degree of American involvement in this conflict in the Middle East. Again, it's the Biden regime, it's the Biden era, and we're going to see what Grandpa Joe comes up with. Let's hope he's making decisions when he is fairly lucid, because these are America's sons and daughters we're talking about.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, Joe Gigante, host of the nationally syndicated Regular Joe Show based right here in Wisconsin. You deserve a state representative who represents you. Your current representative, Robin Vos, is working against you and against President Trump. Listen to what he had to say in his own words.
Will you work to elect Trump in 2024 if he's the Republican nominee?
Well, I'm going to start by doing everything in my power to make sure he's not.
He's following through with that promise by protecting Megan Wolf, the one who allowed drop boxes, Zuckerbucks, and many other illegal influences in our elections. There are two ways you can help shut down this corruption. The first is by joining us this Sunday, February 4th at 1:30 in the afternoon at Fountain Banquet Hall at 8505 Durand Avenue in Sturtevant, Wisconsin. I'll be there along with MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell. Plus, you'll find a petition to recall Voss in your mailboxes this week. Please fill it out and mail it back in, or bring it out to the event this Sunday, February 4th at Fountain Banquet Hall at 8505 Durand Avenue, Sturtevant, Wisconsin. You can learn more at recallvoss.com.
Paid for by Recall Voss.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I ran this by my doctor. I always run it by her, everything I take, and I told her I've been taking this for a while. Is this okay to take? She goes, oh, this is wonderful for you to take. Keep taking it. She goes, I approve this. This is very good. So she said, yes. She said, this is one thing you can take that's very good. I'm not going to stop taking Balance of Nature.
Step into the new year with a new you. Start your journey to better health by calling 1-800-246-8751 or by going to balanceofnature.com and signing up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order, plus a free fiber and spice supplement with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Hurry, this is your last chance to take advantage of this offer. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
8:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And the Kennedy inbound is at 30 minutes this Friday. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike at 45 minutes into the old post office with an accident now on the right-hand shoulder inbound at Damon. Stevenson 38 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan, a full half hour, 95th into the Circle interchange. Route 53, an accident. It's an overturned vehicle, left lane blocked, southbound side between Gulf and Biesterfield. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now your official Chicagoland weather forecast in the QC Kinetics Weather Center. Here's our meteorologist, Steve Williams.
Cloudy skies breaking up for some sun today, the high at 40. It'll be partly cloudy tonight, low 32. Sunny to partly cloudy tomorrow, the high 43. Sunny day on Sunday, the high at 46. And then mostly sunny Monday, the high 47. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
We're at 37 at O'Hare. Next news, 8:30. And Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. We'll talk January jobs numbers with Jim Perry momentarily, but here's a number that's interesting. The papers with which I'm affiliated doing these stories, looking at the cost of like real everyday products like groceries for Illinoisans. The cost of Jewel Osco chicken breast has increased 251% since 2020.
Yeah. You know I complain all the time. And it's called the Jewels, by the way. Okay.
A pack of chicken breasts at the supermarket chain costs $6.99 per pound as of January 2nd of this year, which is $5 more than the $1.99 per pound price tag for chicken breast on December 16th of 2022. Mm-hmm. So in the last 2 years, 251%, total increase, 251% increase in the cost of chicken breast, which outpaces the supposed 2.7% inflation rate for food in the last year, as reported by the Labor Department, which is why it's hard to believe anything the Labor Department reports, including the unemployment numbers, because, it's a government agency. They're not susceptible to incompetence or cooking the books.
Yeah. Right. But, on average, 20% more we're paying for everything, like toiletries, shampoo, everything at the store that you buy is not what it used to be, and it's never going back down.
Well, over, just to continue this, just in terms of the real dollar amounts, turkey breast, December of 2020 was 12 cents an ounce. Now it's 50 cents an ounce. Ground beef was $3.99 a pound. Now it's $5.49 a pound. Laundry detergent, $7.99 for an 88-ounce bottle in December of 2020. Now it's $12.99 for the same bottle, $7.99 to $12.99. Ham, 99 cents a pound, $4.29 a pound. Salmon, $5.99 a pound, $6.99 a pound. And on down the line, the good news for me, not that I purchased these things, king crab legs have stayed constant at $24.99 a pound.
Oh, thank God.
So it's not impacting me, and that's what's most important. But
well,
it's
dog
really
food's up,
interesting.
though, and so is cat food. Everything.
Except king crab legs. Except king crab legs. That's the good news. So you got that going for you. $24.99 a pound king crab legs, thanks to your President Joe Biden. Stayed constant, $24.99 a pound. All right?
That's why I don't eat crab legs. $24.99 a pound? Nah, I'll go to McDonald's.
Jim Perry is the founder and CIO of Perry International Capital Partners. He joins us now. Jim, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Dan. Good morning.
Morning. Let me know if you want me to pick you up a couple of pounds of king crab legs next time I'm in Chicago. That's where you get some real savings. 353,000 jobs, says that same Department of Labor we were discussing, new jobs created in January. Beat the street estimates, that's for sure. Can you give us any color on those jobs? How many public sector versus private sector, for example?
I don't have that breakdown yet. It's still a little early for me. I don't know exactly what that number is on public, but I would say this. Manufacturing was 23,000 versus 8, and it seems like the administration and most of the financial system will come out and say this is a great number and everything is great, except that there's a big problem, and it dovetails into exactly what you're talking about with everything except the Alaskan king crab legs. Prices are up. Inflation is going up, and it's driven by wages, right? So if you look at the jobs report this morning, the one thing that sticks out in my mind more than anything else is that hourly earnings are rising at a year-on-year rate at 4.5%. That's the highest in 12 months, right? Maybe 18 months. Labor costs are going up across the board. The economy is a service sector economy, so it's mostly really just getting out those goods and services that people want. And the fact is, to your point on the Labor Department, the Bureau of Labor Statistics admits that prices, according to their measurement, are up 25% from the pre-pandemic level. 25%, right? That's everything. So we've got a growing economy, which is inflating. That's the bottom line.
And that's why Powell this week was reluctant to encourage those who think a rate cut is coming in March.
I think that's right. I think Powell, well, it's interesting. You'll appreciate this, and I think your listeners will. Chairman Powell will be on 60 Minutes, right, on Sunday night. And I think what he is going to talk about is that he wants to unwind the excessive monetary policy that's in the system, which is, you know, a tough sled politically when you're sitting in Washington where everybody else that's in town wants debt to continue to go up and interest rates to continue to go down.
Well, what does that look like? I mean, is that going to happen?
I do not think so. I mean, I look at a lot of data in this business, and one of the things that I picked up yesterday afternoon, last night, the Atlanta Fed, right, there's 12 regional Fed banks. The Atlanta Fed came out last night and said that GDP in the first quarter of this year is expected to rise by 4.2%, right? 4.2%. Furthermore, the prices using the PCE, the Personal Consumption Expenditures number, which is the Fed's preferred measure of inflation, is expected to rise, get this, 4.9% in Q1 this year. These are huge numbers, and it's all about excessive liquidity in the system, thanks to the government.
So that means obviously there's no fiscal restraints on that side of the house at the federal government, and then you're going to have you've got to have Jay Powell play his part to continue to inflate the Fed's balance sheet, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I have said to clients all month, the last quarter or 2, 3 months, that I really don't think that the Fed is going to cut rates in 2024. I think anybody that's in commercial real estate will cringe and think I'm a fool, and bankers will think that, and the fund management business will think that, and the bankers will think that. But these guys are talking their book, and all they want is more and more free money. And the stock market sees that. So that free money is coming. The Peterson Institute, which is a nonprofit sort of government watchdog, they came out with a report about 3 weeks ago and said that fiscal spending, this is government money that is printed that goes directly into the economy, bypassing the financial system, since the pandemic was $5.4 trillion in the last 4 years. That has never happened before. Even in the World War II, and it's never happened before. This is unbelievable amount of spending, and it's causing inflation because it's making wages in the service sector rise.
Right. But you've got to prop up consumer spending to prop up the stock market, and that's certainly going to be the order of the day in D.C. at least through November. So it looks like it's going to be another banner year for the stock market. People scratching their heads, but what go long on the Magnificent Seven and don't fight City Hall, right?
Well, yes. Short answer, that's the way to play it. I mean, the Magnificent Seven, the returns in the stock market for the Magnificent Seven last year were 75%, right? 75%.
Wow. Right.
I mean, which is amazing, right? I mean, that's really an enormous number.
Yeah, and then what do we have coming? The news this week, you know, after Zuckerberg gets excoriated for the performative excoriation of Mark Zuckerberg before the Senate Judiciary Committee, and he apologized to some parents on the story today. Record profits for Meta. I mean, you know, it's just going to keep churning.
Yeah, it's not only record profits. I mean, you know, their revenue. What do they say? The fourth quarter profits tripled from third quarter. Tripled. They grew 25% on revenues to $30 billion, which is the highest they've done since the pandemic. And net income went from less than $5 billion to over $14 billion in 1 year, right?
It's astounding. But
it's an amazing number.
So why should anybody? But I mean, I would finish your answer. I didn't mean to interrupt. But in terms of like Magnificent Seven and ride the funny money fiscal Fed policy at least through the end of this year, is there any caution you have for believing that to be the best play?
Well, I think that, if you look at the S&P 500, the other sort of 493 stocks, really, their earnings in this quarter will probably be flat at best, right? So, and you have to remember that the S&P 500 is really weighted toward the industrial sector of the economy, industrial and goods and things like that. But this economy is a service sector economy, and, professional business services and stuff like that, these job growth numbers are just enormous. And the fact is that the S&P really isn't a reflection of what has become a transformative U.S. economy over the last 5 to 10 years, especially pandemic. And the pandemic accelerated the trend that was already in place, And I think that a lot of the people that comment on the market and inflation, they kind of cherry pick the data that fits their narrative, right? I mean, they talked about goods inflation coming down so hard from 9% to, maybe 1.5% or something like that. Goods inflation in 6 months or 12 months is probably going to be negative. I mean, China is exporting deflation, right? The economy is collapsing over there. They're trying to sell as much stuff as they can at any price they can get for it. So CPI is probably going to keep going down. But that's not really the true picture of what's going on in the economy. The inflation is coming in wages. Wage inflation, according, again, to the Atlanta Fed, wages are growing at, and this is just the Fed, at 5.6%. And people who change jobs, wages are growing at over 7%. I mean, this is not recessionary stuff,
Jim Perry is the founder and CIO of Perry International Capital Partners, LLC. Jim, thank you as always for the analysis.
Dan, thank you. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's what Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer.
Are you ready for an adventure of a lifetime? Journey with me, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, on the Patriots Alaska cruise this summer. It's an incredible opportunity to engage with me and other like-minded patriots on an epic 7-day cruise over 4th of July weekend. Witness the untouched wilderness of Alaska while discussing America's future. What could be better? Join me from June 29th to July 6th. Call 855-565-5519 or reserve online. PatriotsAlaskaCruise.com.
Platinum Consulting Services seeks a .NET developer in Chicago, Illinois to design, develop, test, implement, and support web applications using Agile methodology. Master's degree in computer science, information technology, or related. Full-time, multiple openings. Occasional travel or relocation may be required. Send resumes to HR Director, Platinum Consulting Services Incorporated, 2425 West Lawrence Avenue, Chicago, Illinois, 60625. Equal Opportunity Employer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I ran this by my doctor. I always run it by her, everything I take, and I told her I've been taking this for a while. Is this okay to take? She goes, oh, this is wonderful for you to take. Keep taking it. She goes, I approve this. This is very good. So she said, yes. She said, this is one thing you can take that's very good. I'm not going to stop taking Balance of Nature.
Step into the new year with a new you. Start your journey to better health by calling 1-800-246-8751. or by going to balanceofnature.com and signing up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order, plus a free fiber and spice supplement with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Hurry! This is your last chance to take advantage of this offer. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Frank Vance, co-owner of Egan Vance Insurance Agency on Chicago's Northwest Side and a customer of Signature Bank. In my line of work, we pride ourselves on being there for our clients when they need it the most, and we recognize when someone does the same for us. As Egan Vance was expanding, we wanted to buy a much sought-after building in the neighborhood. We couldn't waste any time. I called Signature Bank, and that was all it took. I didn't have to talk to multiple people in silo departments with multiple forms to fill out. One call did it all. As the one who was always looking out for my clients, it was a great change to know that my bank, Signature Bank, was looking out for me.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
AM 560, The Answer.
Open mic! Open mic Friday! Call in now! Open mic Friday!
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Yes, it's that time of the week. Taking your calls, 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line with comments, concerns, compliments, criticisms, general crack pottery. We'll take it all on Open Mic Friday, sponsored by turnkey.pro, which is the proper entree to our friend David Kolsak, the founder of Turnkey IT.
Good morning.
David.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. How are you guys?
Morning.
Good morning.
Happy insignificant rodent day. Easy for me to say.
Did he see a shadow or not? I didn't hear.
He did not. Apparently, we're going to have an early spring.
Oh, wonderful.
Yippee.
So I saw this meme the other day that said, people believe a groundhog can predict the weather, but those same people don't believe in science. I mean, what a joke. The woke left want everyone that doesn't think like them to label them as a fascist, a racist, or something worse, you know. So I've got some real words for my liberal friends out there. Trump never removed his opponent from a ballot. You did. Trump never used the government against his opponent. You did. Trump never censored speech. You did. Trump never stole an election. You did. The fact is that you're guilty of everything you accused him of doing. And people are getting sick and tired of being sick and tired. Everything that the left says is a projection. They project what they want onto their opponents, and what they do, they project what they're doing onto their opponents. And we're waking up to that fact. We're wiser for it. You know, watch for that projection. It's everywhere. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. So I was struck by the Russell Brand interview with Tucker Carlson. Did you see that one?
I saw part of it, yeah.
That guy's incredibly well-spoken. He uses words that I don't think I know what they mean. He's articulate. He's, passionate. And his greatest attribute is authenticity. So here's a guy that grew up in a fairly normal middle-class suburb in the UK. He rose to stardom, and he even married Katy Perry. He was in movies and TV shows and was very recognized throughout the world. Brand admitted to having all kinds of addictions and his personal battles to overcome those demons. But on the other side of that dark period, Russell Brand seemed to have forced himself awake. He's no longer a card-carrying Hollywood liberal celebrity, but rather a resolved and authentic self who's calling it out as he sees it. And he's a fighter. He stands up for what he believes. So in exchange for his take on the Ukraine situation, which did not fit that narrative, he was targeted with some sexual abuse accusations, and he was taken off of YouTube and canceled. However, he kept fighting every day, and he used his influence over his millions of followers to spread what he believed is truth. So he's been outspoken, but through it all, he's remained his authentic self. That's my point. So do you know what the most powerful frequency to leave the human body is? It's the frequency of authenticity. Authenticity is 4,000 times more powerful than love. I just made that up, actually. But do you know when authenticity
Okay, Puxatawny, David. Yeah. What was this question? What was the question?
What's the most powerful frequency to leave the human body?
No, I got that part that you made up.
Right. But do you know when authenticity happens? It happens when your words are truthful and you believe what you're saying. So it's really an uncommon trait in today's society is everyone wants to fit in rather than rock the boat. If a person lacks authenticity, they will never achieve a high level of success, and the people that seek success and don't seek significance never find authenticity. So this is the most powerful frequency to harness and leave the human body. And it's so powerful that it actually can change the frequency of the person you're talking to. When your words are truthful and you believe what you're saying, it's really powerful. So when I look back in 2015, when Trump came down that escalator, I think he was authentic, and that resonated with people. Not all of them, Dan, right?
Right.
But a lot
Wow.
of us. So
Yeah.
something that dovetails into that authenticity is trust, and the general public doesn't trust the media anymore, and that's why Trump only grows stronger as they attack him. So you've got this guy who says what he means and believes what he says, and the media claiming that it's exactly the opposite of authentic. So it makes me wonder what he might have on them as the vitriol just seems to get amplified. So you see, authenticity is a problem today, and we see it in most celebrities. Look at this carnival that's Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. Whatever your take on that situation is, and I really don't care, it's great marketing at very least, or maybe a giant psyop, or perhaps just they're in love, right? But what's missing is
psyop. We're going to talk about that. I want to talk about that. So just as a quick aside, we'll open up. I mean, for Open Mic Friday, this Taylor Swift psyop business is really a bridge too far. But anyway, so we'll talk about it. I'm glad you broke the seal on it. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, but it's either great marketing or maybe they're just in love, right? Or maybe it is a psyop. So who knows?
Exactly.
But I think
can't you just believe in young love, David? Yes.
No, I can't. It's just too perfect. It's just too perfect.
It's Hollywood
And
script.
it's not authentic, right?
Yeah. Well,
Most celebrities are always acting, right? On screen and off screen, they're always the same. They think about all those people. They've been reading this script, and the script is stand 6 feet apart, wear a mask, take a vaccine, and those two are at the center of it. Look at the TV commercials on the football games. All of them are still going strong in the face of this COVID lie. So none of that helps. 6 feet apart, so arbitrary and capricious, but yet they got away with it. Anyway, the idea of authenticity is 4,000 times more powerful than love is real, and people crave it. That's why so many people love to watch and attend Trump rallies. Some say Trump is just acting and conning the public, but I'll contend that you can't fake authenticity. You either have it or you don't. Sometimes, and I know this from just being me, authenticity can be off-putting because, and what was that Jack Nicholson line? You can't handle the truth. So to wrap this up, we need authentic people. The world is full of people who will say one thing and then do the other. They're inauthentic or counterfeit or phony or fake. Fake celebrities, fake politicians, fake news, fake history. The world is craving authenticity, and it's almost like they're dying of thirst. And when you're thirsty, you'll drink the sand if you thought it would quench your thirst. So in this case, people are drawn to authentic people, which they see in Donald Trump, Tucker Carlson, Russell Brand, maybe James O'Keefe, and there's many people are treated like rock stars at Joe's on Weed, right? So people seek them out, they hang on every word, and they can't wait until their next podcast. So that's what authenticity does, and I, for one, can't wait for more. Have a great weekend, guys.
Thank you, David
Thank
Kolsak, Turnkey.pro, Turnkey IT, Turnkey.pro. All right, 312-642-5600, Turnkey.pro answer line. Did you want to take calls? Do you want to offer something up? Do you want to comment on the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce psyop theory?
Well, Biden needs young voters right now, and what a great conduit to get to them than by Taylor Swift. Don't you think? I mean, why wouldn't they want her endorsement?
Yeah,
but that's not the issue. They're saying that Republicans, I don't know, what is the beef with everything? What's your problem with it?
Well, first, I mean, okay, so, yeah, of course they want celebrity endorsements like every Democrat wants and gets celebrity endorsements. And Taylor Swift is the biggest star in the world, and so, of course, they want her endorsement. And if Travis Kelce wants to go on the road and get everybody vaxxed while she sings a song and endorses Biden, then of course they would love that. Of course, all that's true. All this stuff, like there's a survey that 1 in 5 Swifties will vote for whoever Taylor Swift says they should vote for president. So what? that is already baked in. The idea that there are people that would vote for who their favorite celebrity says you should vote for. I mean, yeah, but the coattails are not nearly as long as people think, and it's redundant. They're inclined to be on that side. The celebutants are inclined to be on that side of the ledger to begin with. Of course, they're already voting for Biden. So, I mean, there's not a huge delta that Taylor Swift brings to the table that's demonstrable. In terms of all of a sudden she's going to get Teamsters to stay, in the Democrat Party and vote. Taylor said I was going to cross over, vote for Trump, but Taylor Swift and that Travis Kelce, they're just so damn cute. I can't.
America's royalty. I mean,
I can't cross
stand
her.
them. I never wanted the Chiefs to lose, but I'm so sick of that relationship that I wanted it to end.
But here's what I mean. Again, Taylor Swift is a Pentagon PSYOP asset. Jesse Waters essentially said that by sort of asking a question but insinuating it.
Uh-huh.
Jack Posobiec at Human Events, gearing up for an operation to use Taylor Swift in the election. Taylor Swift is an op, and Vivek Ramaswamy is sort of saying that it's already scripted that the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl because it's part of this overall PSYOP. I mean,
come on,
get a grip.
That it was rigged. That the game was rigged. The AFC, NFC championships were rigged to have these two teams play against each other.
And to Kosak's point about authenticity, that's all well and good, and you can ask questions, but that is not. I mean, there are authentic conspiracy theorists, I suppose, but Vivek Ramaswamy is too smart to believe that. That is not being authentic. That is playing a part. That is being a provocateur for the purposes of stoking paranoia because you think it will aid and abet, your candidate. But that's not being authentic. Because all of this stuff about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce all week is just absolute silliness. Absolute silliness. Get a grip here. Distinguish between things that we have evidence for that suggests a proper level of skepticism that demand answers from people in positions of authority, like what we were just talking about with Ron Johnson about the border. But to sort of dream up these things about Pentagon PSYOPs involving a pop singer and I mean, first of all, I mean, I know you got me on this, but right. This is not the first. Like celebrity and politics. I'm gonna go full Frank from Arlington Heights here. I hope I'm not stealing his in-depth history from next week. Nathaniel Hawthorne. The great author.
Yes.
So his most famous work is what? The Scarlet Letter. And when he published The Scarlet Letter shortly before Franklin Pierce ran for president in 1852, and his Bowdoin College classmates encouraged him to write sort of the definitive biography on Franklin Pierce, and cast him in a heroic light, because Nathaniel Hawthorne was this popular figure because of his books and because of The Scarlet Letter in particular. And he writes this. He agrees to do this biography for the purposes of Franklin Pierce's election in 1852, and it was material in helping Franklin Pierce get over the hump and win the election in 1852. I mean, it's just one example. Like we think all these things are new, and it has to involve some sort of global 21st century complicated. No. It's like Alec Baldwin says, if George H.W. Bush wins, I'm going to leave the country. Or Barbara Streisand says the same thing. It's just like it's all media generating to move public opinion by people that have a following because of their status as an entertainer or something, or an athlete. So it's not new, and it's not that complicated, and it's generally not that material. I will suggest to you that Nathaniel Hawthorne's book on Franklin Pierce in 1852 had more of an impact on that election than Taylor Swift will have on 2024.
Okay.
All right.
We shall see. Oh, real quick, I just want to get this in there because the Chicago Tribune, Dan, the employees, they walked out. They had their 24-hour walk out, their first strike in 176 years, and I had a friend go to it because I know you know, I just wanted to make sure that it was covered. Oh, it was hilarious because, Dan, they're not used to being the news. They're used to covering it.
It takes a lot for folks in journalism and media to step across and become part of the news story. We try and stay in back of that. So it's really been pushed to our limit.
Oh, my God. It's bad enough I had to go to the site yesterday because Greg Pratt told me not to go to the site because of their 24-hour strike where the the propagandists of the world were uniting and so on and so forth. Now I got to listen to them, pretend to be journalists, pretend to be selfless, pretend to be standing up for the workers' rights and all this other stuff. Here is the password, Alden Capital. I mean, you were dumb enough to buy the Tribune. That's on you. Here's the password, Patco. Patco, that place.
Okay, I just have one more soundbite because this guy, Kurt, I think he's, welcome to the world, baby girl.
My rent just went up again today.
Oh.
It's up 20% since 2019, and that's just rent. My pay is up 0%.
I mean, right. So these are the people who are distilling information for you. Somebody that is that
ignorant,
clueless. Yes.
Yep.
I mean, it's just great. No, I loved it. I love the whole 24-hour strike. Don't go to the website. Don't read the paper. We're not taking this anymore. Okay, princess. All right. Let me know how that goes.
The strike's over, though. Now it's 24 hours have passed. I'm glad we survived.
By the way, we'll give a special recognition to anyone who can tell me who Franklin Pierce defeated in the 1852 election for President of the United States. And the parties of the two candidates. That's some real in-depth history. I hope Frank from Arlington Heights is listening and is impressed to know that I could sub for him in case he wants to take a Teachers Institute Day.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll send him an email.
Yeah. All right, take some calls. Rick in Downers Grove, you're in Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning. Hey, earlier in the show you mentioned that, in Wisconsin, Biden and Trump are tied 47% apiece. And I got to tell you, who are these people? And there's
who are which people?
There isn't a clear demarcation between Trump's economy in the world and Biden's economy in the world. So I could believe it's got to be one of two things. These people are completely brainwashed by CNN, MSNBC, and are never going to snap out of it, or they're complete morons, i.e. Taylor Swift fans, and they will happily do whatever a celebrity tells them to do.
God,
no questions asked, and no thinking involved.
You
have a good weekend.
Thanks for the call, Rick. You can be an idiot and a Taylor Swift fan, but that doesn't mean that Taylor Swift is responsible for you voting for Tony Evers and Mandela Barnes and Joe Biden and so forth. I mean, let's work our Kamala Harris Venn diagram on this a little bit. How about it?
The pie charts, yeah. Dan Pierce beat Winfield Scott. Everybody knows that.
Franklin Pierce is his name.
Okay.
Yeah, but
no, I just said Franklin Pierce beat Winfield Scott.
Did you Google that?
No, I had a text message to me.
Well.
Well, there's this thing called the Google, and yeah.
Yeah, I know. Did your texter friend Google it?
Yeah, I'm sure that they knew.
Okay, well, tell your texter friend to call in, because then I'll query them on the 1852 race to see if it's authentic, and they didn't just Google it. Did they give the parties?
They did not give the parties.
Yeah, all right.
So you tell us the parties. Text. Winfield Scott sounds like a Democrat.
No.
Republican?
Well,
it wasn't the Green Party back then, was it?
This is why you need. This is why you need Frank from Arlington Heights, because who is the godfather of the Republican Party?
Don't bring up Godfather.
The land of
Lincoln.
Yeah, and
Abraham
what year was
Lincoln.
he elected?
Oh God.
What year? What century was the Civil War?
17th president.
Yeah, right. So Franklin Pierce preceded. Well, he was the Democrat, and Winfield Scott was the Whig Party, which preceded the Republican Party. Okay. You see, yeah, a little bit of a trick question there. And what was Winfield Scott's rank?
God.
Yeah. See if your friend who's Googling and texting you knows that. All right. Melanie in Buffalo Grove.
Hi there, Dan and Amy. Good morning. Happy Groundhog Day. Didn't Franklin Pierce not get the Democrat nomination? Was he removed from the ballot or something?
He was elected president in 1852.
At some point, though, he did not get the Democrat support. Wasn't he once a Democrat? Or maybe I need to go back to Google.
Okay.
Yeah. But what I'm calling about
is
now.
Yes,
yeah.
right.
And we have a primary coming up on March 19th. And I am a precinct committeeman, and I'm responding to, there was a couple of weeks ago an open mic Friday, and I've heard people call in, like, should I be a precinct committeeman? And I heard the story, like, I think you mentioned that in the old days, I've been an appointed PC for Vernon Township Republicans for about 2 years. So now I will be on the ballot and I want to be elected. And we do have people. I know Steve Bannon's precinct strategy has been mentioned a couple times. We have people who come from, they've been motivated by that. We have all kinds of people. We just need more. And the party is going to be defined by who is helping in the party. I was a Democrat probably most of my life, and I voted for Obama twice, and then I voted for Trump twice because that's kind of where I was red-pilled a little bit since the COVID days and stuff. And I feel that people who say they're politically homeless aren't actually politically homeless. They're just not participating. And the Dems have gone off the deep end. And if we want to change anything, especially here in Illinois, we have to organize and fight in the way that is going to be effective. And it's not going to be monthly meetings with ex-candidates or whatever, kind of like slapping each other on the back and then going back to sleep for another 2 years or whenever the next election cycle is. So, for example, Vernon Township is the largest in Lake County. We have our northern border is like Route 60, Town Line Road, down south to Lake Cook, east some of Long Grove, west parts of a little bit of Lake Forest, Mettawa, Riverwoods, Lincolnshire. We have 43 precincts, and that's about like double what the average is. Most of these townships have 10 to 15. And we need to fill them with precinct committeemen. And for me, the work that I've been doing the past 2 years, I see a different role for the precinct committeemen. We should embrace technology. We should embrace like the future. It's not just knocking on doors, leaving our packets. We need to work the data, the voter data. We need to reach out. We have 8,000 Republicans who are unreliable in our township. And we need to find out why they're not voting in every election, what their issues are, maybe what's keeping them away from the polls. So I think it's a good idea to be a PC. I think it's the first step to get in there to change things. When you're elected, you get to then vote in our convention, and over here we have the Central Committee members. So if you're not a fan of what the Central Committee is doing, we have in Vernon Township 5th District, which is Aaron Del Mar, 9th District, which is Joan Lassonde, 10th District, which is Mark Shaw. Once you're elected as PC, you carry your vote to your convention, and you elect those people who then, run things over at the State Central Committee. So for everyone who has a problem with that kind of thing, this is how you get your foot in the door and you actually start making change. I think you're a voter.
And then you actually need to. I mean, I agree with what you're saying, but then you need to actually make some change, even small change, like, for example, taking a snake like Mark Shaw off the State Central Committee and getting better leadership for the state party, getting better leadership locally to make sure that it's consistent with that. And that just isn't being done in very many places. So, I mean, I agree that this is a good path that you're describing, and I agree that the precinct committeeman who's active and engaged and does the hard work of connecting with people and connecting other people to each other, no, it's a powerful political force. It just is mostly inert within the Republican ranks in this region.
Right, it is. And I know that there's a ton of people out there that would be so effective if they joined the ranks of PCs. And the more we have here, the more work we can do to make change. For example, Mark Shaw was like Lake County chair at one point as well. And then, he was voted out. It's like incremental steps, but consistency is key. And I just think if you're a voter and all you do is vote, especially here in Illinois, you're doing the bare minimum, you need to do more, because voting is like at best like maintenance of whatever this is, and at worst you're just contributing to the dysfunction of the Republican Party. You have to do more than just vote. Even beyond PC, the need for election judges, and not just election judges, but actual Republican election judges that can be vetted, and you're like, yeah, you're a Republican. There's so much need in the political process. You have to participate in the process. So anyway, I just wanted to call because I'm a PC for Vernon Township Republicans. If you are in our township, our website is vernongop.win. We have really built up a good site, I think, and a good communications outreach to bring people into our group. And you won't be alone. And we have training, and this is the grassroots, boots on the ground effort that's going on here. And I think that we should change how we do things, and we are changing how we do things, but it definitely takes more people.
Thanks for the call, Melanie. Appreciate it. Tom, Blue Island.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Amy. Dan, I just wanted to piggyback on something you've been talking about all week, and what I believe his name is David started the show, the Open Line Friday out with, in reference to authenticity. So Jim Langford had two comments that I thought really were explanatory. First, he made a Hillary Clinton smarmy ass comment in reference to no one standing there with a clicker. Kind of reminded me of her that did someone wipe her server with a cloth. And to his point, if there's no one there with a clicker, then how is there any kind of number of how many people are coming in? And the answer is he doesn't care how many people are coming in. It's going to be just an effort to make some kind of a deal that makes Joe Biden look like he got some kind of something accomplished on the border. And who would trust Joe Biden on the border anyway after the last couple of years? And just one other quick point in reference to that. He said he made a comment if there was a rush to the border that they would shut the border down immediately. And that gets to what you've been saying all week, Dan. Then just shut the border down. If you have the ability to shut the border down, if there's some kind of rush, then you're making an argument you could do it if you wanted to, and that has to be the starting point.
Thanks for the call, Tom. I don't think we should keep a head of state waiting any longer. Kevin, a.k.a. the Prime Minister of Ireland, who vacations in the winter in Ogden Dunes, Indiana, strangely enough. Kevin?
I have a huge breaking news announcement. Inauthentic, hope and change. Huge announcement, bigger and more consequential than anything since maybe the end of World War II. Now, since he's running for president, I will leave it to the Governor J.B. Lizzo to formally announce this, but I'm going to whisper to your audience that the Windy City of Big Shoulders has been saved. And may I say, this is the kind of excellence that happens when your selfless elected officials, hardworking problem solvers like your Prime Minister of Ireland, spring into action. Very specifically, Dan Prof, I first approached the Israeli Knesset. They laughed at me. But then I got the City Council of Tel Aviv to pass a resolution backing a ceasefire in Chicago. Thank you very much. You're welcome. And I will relinquish the remainder of my time to the speaker in my stereo.
Thank you for the call, Kevin. Yes, very Babylon B-ish. Yes.
Yeah, because they came out with that Gaza has voted for a ceasefire in Chicago. That was their headline today, the Babylon Bee.
Tom Barrington.
Good morning, guys. I can't believe the Mick beat me to the joke. Damn it. Hey, I just wanted to give a shout out to James O'Keefe. I don't know if you guys saw that video of the gay date, but that was absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, I was wondering if he was one of the guys in the Senate chamber who recorded something. If it was the same person.
Oh, that was classic. And the guy just spilling the beans, and he's like, "You're in cybersecurity? Uh-huh. Okay. What the hell are you guys doing over there?" Anyway, have a great weekend.
Thanks for the call, Tom. Kevin, Austin, Texas.
Dan, Amy, thanks for taking my call. I love it when I can listen to talk about authenticity
then it goes to the Swifties, and then it goes to Franklin Pierce in one wonderful thread of consciousness.
Yes, a lot of range. Yes.
Oh my gosh! And then I got in. It even had me looking on Wikipedia as I was on hold talking to you guys. But somebody beat me a punch. Anyhow, I love the fact that was that Melanie who called in for the North Side. And she broke through as far as the grassroots. And one thing I wanted to mention, you do have to change leadership as far as the hierarchy, but you can become a leader as a precinct committee chair. Anyhow, that's I was listening so that thought came up. But I wanted to talk about a way for the violence protection is possibly give parents a scholarship so they can send their kids to schools that would actually instill character.
Oh yeah, we used to we used to have those scholarships. That. Yeah, right.
I remember those.
Yeah, 5 minutes ago.
They can do $200 million for that. So.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's a good point, Gavin. Yeah, right. You can. Yeah, the $200 million increment they're going to spend this public-private partnership to prevent violence. Right, $200 million is scholarships. Oh, right. We eliminated the tax credit scholarship program. The ironies abound. Oh, I wanted to get this in too, by the way. I mentioned this. We've talked about these stories before. Valentine's Day. I know we've got a little time. I think we do. A couple weeks or something?
Yeah.
When is it?
Oh, it's your big holiday.
Yeah.
Kidding.
Anyway, like the San Antonio Zoo made a name for itself because they gave people, you could name a cockroach or a small mammal after your ex and feed it to a zoo animal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was like a way to raise money and get attention for the zoo. It's pretty shrewd marketing. Well, there's another play here. This is pretty good. Pet Adoption Center in Blackwood, New Jersey, Homeward Bound Pet Adoption Center, Blackwood, New Jersey, is offering to let donors name a feral cat after their ex and then have it spayed or neutered.
Oh, and watch them cut off the naughty bits. Yeah,
I kind of, the satisfaction.
That's pretty nasty.
You could get.
I mean, well, do you get to watch? I mean, do you get to participate?
I don't. You give them a call. I don't know all the details, but I just like the creativity.
Well, I have feral cats, and I'm always looking for more feral cats. So can you imagine if I had a group show up like, this is Bob and Steve and Jim?
Well, it's a great way to, to have some sort of cathartic experience vis-a-vis your ex without, violating the law. Joe in Arlington Heights.
Hey, good morning. You mentioned Nathaniel Hawthorne. And,
I did.
Not a lot of people know that he was also a poet. And since you mentioned him, I thought maybe I could share my favorite Nathaniel Hawthorne poem.
Oh.
Okay.
Of course.
It's called Go to the Grave. Go to the grave where friends are laid and learn how quickly mortals fade. Learn how the fairest flower must droop. Learn how the strongest form must stoop. Learn that we are but dust and clay, the short-lived creatures of a day. Yet do not sigh. There is a clime where they will dwell through endless time, who here on earth their Maker serve, and never from his precepts swerve. The grave to them is but a road that leads them to that blessed abode.
Joe from Arlington Heights is our poet laureate. He is Chicago's Morningstar Poet Laureate, so we give him the option to read a poem or to provide his own original work. Thanks for the call, as always, Joe. To that, I'll respond with this tender rap about Kamala Harris and J6.
September 11th, 2001, and January 6th, 2021.
Newsflash, nobody gives a about it. We all admit that was pretty dumb, but that's about it. When we saw the news, we were shocked and we were kind of tense. Like, damn. Then we forgot about it by the 10th. Nobody's walking around stressing over Jan 6. It happened and that was it. We haven't gave a damn since. It's all good when riots are kept in the hood, but now you're freaking out because this was in the neck of your woods. Now it's a big deal. Now it gets real. Now it's important to us. Not back then in 2020 when stores were boarded up. Not back then when goods were looted and folks were brutalized. Not then, but right now, because it happened to the suit and ties. Way above my head. We were all year with demonstrations that left dozens dead. But people like Nancy didn't flinch, in fact, they loved it then. People will do what they do, bitch, ain't that what you said? Yep. There's literally compilation videos of you and all your colleagues inciting this kind of crap. So it's very fascinating to watch you swallow your words. You put your own foot in your mouth and now you're forced to dial it back. It's fine when you encourage it in my town, in his town, in her town, when the whole city's being burnt down. You smile as you give the green light for mobs to rob, but as soon as it comes close to you, then it's a problem. Got it.
Nice.
That's pretty good.
All right. Thanks so much to Justin Kosick and Quinn McCarthy, and have a wonderful weekend. Today it's going to be cloudy but warm, highs in the 40s, sunshine this weekend. It is now 9 a.m. WIND Chicago.
Anthony, Fox News, or is it? We did get a surge in hiring last month. 353,000 jobs were created, almost double what was expected, and slightly more than December's hiring numbers that were revised way up. But there was another government survey in the same report showing the size of the workforce stayed the same, and the unemployment rate remains 3.7%. And Fox Business's Edward Lawrence reports.
So there's an underlying weakness that could show up in the next report. Career firm Challenger, Gray, and Christmas found that planned layoffs jumped 136% from December. And the January marked the lowest planned hiring for companies since 2009, when the measure began.
Now, President Biden just put out a statement saying America's economy is the strongest in the world, and today we saw more proof. In a few hours, the president will be at Dover Air Force Base in Delaware when the remains of 3 American soldiers